TNA is the best wrestling in the whole world.
You've never seen anything like this on Spike TV.
The quantity of speech is not always indicative of the quality of thought.
I'm Captain Charisma, you silly bastard.
This is wrong. You got robbed. You got robbed. You got robbed.
You've been painting in an unventilated room. Maybe you need to go back to rehab.
Come on, now that wasn't necessary.
This is BS. This sucks. I've lost my objectivity, and I don't give a damn.
Welcome everybody to You've Got to Be Kidding Me episode 45. We are a TNA history podcast that covers TNA 1 month at a time. On this episode we're talking the month that is February 2006, building up to Against All Odds 2006. I'm Garrett Kidney. I am joined by Liam Jones.
Hello. You know my favorite thing that you do when we before we press record is that you will go alright, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready for it. And then you'll leave a gap, and then I'll my attention will divert slightly, and then you'll go, and 3, 2, and I'm like, oh shit, get back over to this part of the screen, blah, 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 and I go rush it, and I get very fearful that I'm just gonna not press it in time.
Why don't you just keep your finger over the button?
Because as soon as you give me a 2-second silence, I'm like, oh, well, he's not doing it now.
I give just enough time for your attention span to drift, and then you have to snap back in?
Yes. Exactly.
What about the time between when I hit record and then do the intro, where I also usually leave a 2-second beat?
No, that's fine because when I'm not expected to do anything. But it happens the exact same when we do the watch along. Especially if we do a little diatribe before we press play. I'm I'm in a different land, ready to go. And then you start going 3, 2, and I'm like, and now if I fuck this one up, we have to start the whole thing again. So it's it's just a whole process for me.
If you ever listen to the watch-alongs, I do get down to business a lot faster because I'm like, fuck it, we have 3 hours to kill. We can't waste, antics time at the start. We've got to click play on this show, and then we can start doing antics time.
We can't use up our antics when we're going to need it for the watch-along.
Yeah, we have to fill 3 hours of hashtag content at tnachat.com, patreon.com/kiddingme, where you can listen to the watch-along for Against All Odds 2006. But you can't just do 15 minutes before you start the watch-along, then it'll be oh fuck, we have nothing to talk about during the watch-along.
Exactly.
So other than your drifting mind as you were about to click start on a podcast, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I've realized that this year I have been very poor about watching films. I don't I think I've only watched 4 movies this year.
It doesn't feel like there's been a ton out at the start of the year at the same time though.
But also I've only seen one thing that came out in that time too. That's including movies that have just in general.
I will say I have taken on a stance as the world's biggest Madam Web defender.
I don't know why. I don't know why you've deemed this your cross to bear.
Of all the superhero movies that have existed, and there are many, the one I am no guys, it's actually good, what are you talking about, is Madam Web. It's actually good, what are you talking about?
It's like me with Eternals.
Morbius, for all it became a meme, is actually pretty boring. It's actually a boring movie. It wasn't even funny bad. It was just a boring movie. I like the Venoms. They're silly. But then Madam Web comes along and everyone is pretending it's funny by accident. And then all they do is post what were jokes in the movie, delivered as jokes. And they're laughing at it. And then they're like, oh, it's so stupid and bad. It's no, you're just laughing at what was a joke in the movie. Why are you pretending it wasn't a joke in the movie? It's driving me crazy.
My favorite thing is about the movie. It has rekindled my passion for Dakota Johnson.
Oh, she's so good.
And she is maybe my favorite actress in that I don't think she's very good, personally. But still, she has a weird drawing charisma about her, where every time she's on screen, you're glued to it. Because you're everything's just a little off-kilter. You look at it and you're like, this isn't how performance is meant to be. You know what she has? She has transcended acting. And has discovered a new form of entertainment.
Have you ever seen the clip of her and the Limes?
What is her and the Limes?
So she's doing a house tour, but beforehand they did some set dressing on her house to make it look fancy. It's for some magazine or something. And she's walking through her kitchen and she sees that they put this this display of limes in a little container on her kitchen counter. And she's walking through her kitchen and she sees the limes and she's like, there's my limes. I love limes. I love to present them like this in my house. This is the first time in her life she has seen the limes, and that went completely viral. Everyone was like, what the fuck is going on with Dakota Johnson and her limes? And she goes on, like, I think it's Jimmy Fallon a few years later, and she's like, oh, I just saw the limes and I lied. I didn't know what to do, so I lied. I'm actually allergic to limes. I'm like, you're the most fascinating person.
She is beyond acting. She's developed some new creative medium that we as humans aren't developed enough to quite understand yet.
I think she's just mastered deadpan. I think that's all she's done. She is like the most perfect deadpan human being that, like, you do not know how serious she is at any moment. And for some reason, everyone always assumes she's very serious, which I think is the problem with Madame Web. Everyone like watches that movie and thinks she's trying to be super serious in that movie when she's fucking not.
I think she has discovered a medium I can only describe as post-acting. She has developed something unique, and I can't quite explain it because obviously, like, the deadpan aspect of it is a giant part of it, but it's also like an energy that she has developed. I need her to do like weird niche indie shit. Like, you need to get her in there with like a director that can match that like off-kilter energy.
Yeah, somebody needs to get her into like proper comedies, because she is so funny. Like the press tour from Madame Web, I cannot get enough of her just like randomly talking about these movies. Like the one that went viral of her just being like, I don't understand why people are going crazy about this line from the trailer. And like, she does make everybody seem like the most insane person in the world. And when she's asked about it, like there's like a head motion she does where she like tilts her head, looks a little off into the distance as if like, I don't understand what's happening here. And then there's also the one that went around recently where she's trying to name the 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. In which her first one is Spider-Man, Here He Comes. And it's like, that's better than all of the ones they did.
You know what I need? I need her to do an Ari Aster theme film. I need to put her in a very weird environment and just see how she goes. Or like get her in like a Yorgos Lanthimos movie. Like just throw her in something very odd and different and weird.
Yeah.
What if Dakota Johnson was in The Lobster? You know, that's what I need.
Which is all to say, Madame Web is actually pretty fun. Everyone assumed it was stupid and bad, and then they went to see it and they took it in bad faith and pretended it wasn't even trying to be funny when it really is. It's a nice fun. I don't understand why this is the one people have decided is the worst ever. I really don't. Because there's like 500 worse superhero movies than this.
I think it's a general, like, superhero fatigue is at its highest. People are, like, done with it. And I think general, like, this is the latest in, like, the Sony schlock.
Which I'm on board with, by the way.
So it's like, the Sony stuff is always going to be, like, treated as stupid bullshit.
Even though it's trying to be stupid bullshit. That's what drives me crazy. Everyone's like, this is stupid bullshit. It's like, no, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, again, maybe it's just post-acting. This is the medium is now developed beyond the understanding of the consumer.
Dakota Johnson's work is just too interesting, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you're right, and like we have entered a state of it that just the general consumer cannot comprehend nor understand. The intention behind it has gone over the heads of the viewer.
In 15 years, people in film school will be studying Madame Web.
I think maybe. Maybe.
Feel like, what on earth what was happening here? And why am I laughing at it?
And then, you know what it is? Because in 15 years, every movie will be like it.
That's true. Because, like, it's not even, like, the only way you can enjoy Morbius is if you do think it's so bad it's good. Like, that is the only thing that film has going for it. It's, like, it is a serious movie, except when he whooshes from his hands. That is quite funny. But this, like, if you watch this movie and aren't like, oh, it's going to be, like, a kind of campy, a little irreverent, a little silly, and not taking itself particularly seriously. And then everyone comes out of it being like, it was funny, but it wasn't meant to be. It's like, no, it really was. What are you doing? She's just too good. She is simply too good.
Yeah, because to be fair, the only things I've seen about it is people going, 1 star, I loved it.
And there are people who are like, I don't understand the plot, when like, I don't know what to do with you. The plot is literally, this guy sees that these girls are going to kill him,
Have you
and
ever
she
seen
tries
a
to stop
superhero
them.
movie?
Like, there is no complexity to this other than everybody gets powers from being bitten by spiders, which is Spider-Man's thing. Everyone gets powers from being bitten by spiders. That is the whole genre's, well, not the whole genre, the whole universe of Spider-Man's thing. If you can't accept that, you simply can't accept Spider-Man.
And you all love Spider-Man, so
He is technically in this movie.
I did see I saw the Twitter account that called that bit. But they're gonna do like the shut off before they say Peter Parker.
He is technically in the movie. Peter Parker is in the movie.
Did you get a look at him and see a coiffed of hair or something and go, is that young Andrew Garfield? Is that baby Andrew? Or is that baby Tom? Or is that what world are we in?
I actually don't know what world we're in, because Adam Scott plays Uncle Ben. So what of the cinematic Uncle Bens give you best Adam Scott energy?
I don't remember this Amazing Spider-Man stuff.
There is no Aunt May in this movie, so you can't judge on that one.
I think the plan was that like the Sony stuff was gonna it was gonna be like Garfield Spider-Man, so maybe let's just say it's that one.
Sure. And Adam Scott to Martin Sheen, actually, yeah,
Yeah, actually, you know what?
that actually works.
That's a pretty good line right
I
there.
think that makes sense. So Madam Web, go see it. Don't to be too cool, because it's become the film that's popular to dunk on, so everyone's dunking on it for numbers. And I am a man of sincere engagement with art, Liam. You know it well. So I will always give Madam Web the benefit of the doubt. It's a fun time.
It's sincere engagement with art until the minute it does something that you don't personally agree with.
Yeah, because it's art. That's all art. If it's not appealing to me, why would I give a fuck about it?
You know what appeals to me, Garrett? Kidney?
What does appeal to me, Liam?
TNA wrestling.
And
particularly
right.
2024 TNA wrestling.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. I guess we kind of have to cover like modern TNA now because it has the same name.
No, we can cover it in like 15 years.
Alright.
But there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's many things going on, some might say. But we'll talk about them when we get to 2024.
Guys, I'm telling you right now, gonna be so many scoops when we get to 2024 coverage.
It is a long tease. We are only 18 years away from it, but...
Yeah, like, trust me, the content, when we get to 2024 covering of TNA, it's gonna be sick. We're gonna have show notes that are from Garrett.
It's just me writing them from my mind.
Yeah, but you'll credit yourself at the end.
Oh yeah, it's not in brackets PW Torch, in brackets Wrestling Observer. It's in brackets me.
That's in brackets TNAchat.com.
Yes, which is the pivot where you can go if you would like to see the show notes, which are at this month 13 pages worth of notes about February 2006 TNA. You can head to TNAchat.com or patreon.com/kiddingme, where you can subscribe, you can support the show, you can get secondary shows like our Lucha Underground show, like our New Japan show, Rain Takers, all the series we've already done covering Global Force Wrestling, Ring Cat King, Wrestling Society X, the 2010 Monday Night Wars, PWG in 2012, all of that. Any of that sound interesting to you? Full series, many episodes, tnachat.com, patreon.com/kiddingme. We also recently did the 2005 End of Year Awards, and unfortunately the 2005 draft, which was won by Liam Jones.
What can I say? It's just sometimes too easy. I went in there with unmatched confidence. Utter belief in myself and my ability to book a tremendous TNA card. Let that be known to everyone out there. I can book TNA really well, and everyone seems to agree with that. So if anyone needs someone to book TNA...
This is the one I'm saltiest at, because my card is much better than yours, and you just did the, like, woe is me, it's so bad routine, and then it's like, my card is 2 hours, please vote on that, and then he won.
Hey, you know what it was, though? Promoters promoting, you know?
Yeah. You have to trick people. It's like NXT. You can trick people into thinking it's good.
How about, stay mad, I'll stay rich.
You can trick Williams people into thinking it's good.
Yeah, whoop.
So yes,
That's trick.
let me get the actual final results up so we can tell people what the score was. With 37 votes, you had 54.1% to my 45.9%. So you edged me by about 9%.
I feel like I'm this is like 3 in a row for me now. I feel
It's 2 in actual counted drafts, so we're now 2-2 in end of year drafts.
you won the first two, I won the last two.
Yes, and I also won the AEW one. So if you want to count that, I'm still 3-2 up, but we won't.
That one
count
doesn't
that.
count. Yeah. That's extra content. We're talking mainline here.
Yeah, so if you'd like to listen to that draft episode or the end of year awards, tnhr.com, patreon.com/kiddingme. You can support the show, and we really appreciate it. You also get an ad-free episode on the $1 tier if you don't want to hear the ads on the show, and you're just like, I'd like to listen to the podcast, and you can just read the show notes as we talk through it. It's a fun experience. Patreon.com/kiddingme, tnhr.com.
I am nodding in agreement.
That brings us to the month that was February 2006 in TNA. Starting with the news. Spike TV is on the verge of offering TNA a Thursday night primetime clearance. Key sources say it is expected within weeks, if not days, to be announced as part of a new Thursday night lineup on Spike. TNA Impact would be opening the evening at 8 p.m, it turns out to be 9, with a 1-hour show followed by UFC Unleashed, a best of program, and then the Ultimate Fighter. The coaches on the next Ultimate Fighter series will be Tito Ortiz and Ken Shamrock.
That seems like it would have crossover potential.
Nah, no one wants to see those two guys. People hate those two guys.
Well, they hate when they're like really big surprises.
Yes, when they're teased. Both do have a interesting legacy with TNA wrestling.
It's pretty like, you don't think about it often, but TNA's like weird relationship with MMA has always been so much further ahead than like WWE's, and now WWE is co-promoted with the MMA company.
Yeah, because TNA were like the prototype there, weren't they? Because obviously they weren't owned by the same company that owns an MMA company, but they were broadcast by Spike, which was the home of the UFC when TNA went on Spike, and then the home of Bellator eventually later in the end.
Well, yeah, right, but there was always like there was a weird like sister relationship feeling vibe with Bellator.
So all the Bellator people would show up, and TNA became kind of a marketing vehicle for Bellator for a little while there. But yeah, there was a lot of MMA people popping in and out of TNA. Like Frank Trigg would become a recurring character in 2008 TNA for some reason.
It's like, you wonder if like a Cain Velasquez would have had his run in WWE if not for like TNA randomly just doing everything with everyone. And
like the first world champion in company history is Ken Shamrock, so clearly setting the tone very early.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like it was intrinsic in the DNA of the company, which is funny for a company that is so like not shoot, like, or like wrestling is wrestling. It's like, it's very odd. Wait, I'm gonna hit you with a question. Right?
Sure.
Because I'm thinking about Cain Velasquez now.
Is he in jail?
As one does. I think he's out of jail right now.
Okay.
Garrett, Cain Velasquez
Yes.
wrestled 2 matches for the WWE.
Yeah.
Can you name them?
One was against Brock. That was in Saudi Arabia. I don't remember the other one.
Cain Velasquez. This is on a house show, so I'm gonna give you some rope with that one. Cain Velasquez and Humberto Carrillo versus the OC, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows.
Of course, Luke Gallows is in the match. That's perfect.
And then, he had the 2 AAA matches right after. Not right after, like in consecutive years after. And had the other 2 AAA matches before. Like, he was wrestling in AAA the month before he debuted in WWE. They saw that my man was doing 6-man tags with Psycho Clown and Cody, and he's like, let's bring him in.
Yeah. He was pretty good in AAA, if I remember, for what he was trying to do.
It was a weird freak show as well.
Yeah.
Because you're like, why is this happening?
It's a good question. There wasn't a good answer. Well, there actually was a good answer. Cain Velasquez was a star. So, like, it's not insane to do something with Cain Velasquez.
I hope he comes back and wrestles again. I want more UFC fighters who like can't do it anymore to start making their way into wrestling.
Just to get all the shooters?
Yeah, it'd be fun. It's because it's weird to see like actual celebrities. Give me like Daniel Cormier. He's like been talking about wrestling for 15 years. Come and do something.
Once appeared on an episode of TNA Impact.
Yeah, I assume he did like American Top Team stuff.
No, you saw it. That's already happened.
Oh shit, it did, didn't it?
It was when post Olympics he just walked out and waved.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hello guys." No one knows who I am right now, but wave.
Like, remember when like AEW got Jorge Masvidal on the show?
Yeah. When
like Masvidal was going through like his like giant resurgence in popularity.
I'll pretend I know who he is.
He won the BMF title.
I'll still pretend I know who he is.
The Rock gave that to him.
Oh, good. The Rock, a person who I put a lot of stock in 2024.
And he like needs someone. Did he need Chris Jericho? It's probably Chris Jericho. Right?
It's always Chris Jericho. There are high hopes that
Weird.
they can shatter all previous ratings records for that program with those two high-profile coaches going back to Shamrock and Tito Ortiz being in Ultimate Fighter. TNA President Dixie Carter tells...
They're not talking about Scott D'Amore.
TNA President Dixie Carter tells PW Torch she is unaware of an official decision to shift Impact to Thursdays, because PW Torch actually got the scoop on this, I think a week or two early. And she's like, no. She has, though, that's been her company's goal for a while. And we have a Dixie Carter quote.
We've always had our eye on prime time, and we feel we've performed really well with the time slot we've been given.
She says, the latest TV ratings for Impact have been strong. The latest episode on Saturday night drew a 1.1 rating, the best for Impact yet. We'll get into ratings a little bit more in a minute. And the Monday replays have been strong lately, putting TNA at nearly 2 million for overall viewership every week.
That's insane.
Carter says that the ratings news elevated the mood of everyone on Tuesday afternoon before this week's TV tapings, with SmackDown having performed well on Thursday nights but moved to Fridays last fall. Thursday seen as an empty wrestling night, a time when fans have proven they will watch in large numbers large enough to satisfy Spike TV, even if it wasn't considered blockbuster numbers for broadcast network UPN. If Spike goes through with the Thursday night time slot, it's a strong commitment to TNA because it will be an interruption in the weeknight strip of CSI, which currently airs every night at both 7 p.m. and 8 p.m.
What will they do with the CSI war?
Which is funny because it ends up airing at 9, so like we actually can't interrupt CSI. It's not even first run CSI, it's CSI repeats.
It's crazy how like syndicated TV just crushes.
Yeah, why would you ever buy new programming when you can just air old episodes of The Big Bang Theory that a million people will watch instead?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is one of those things where it's like TV has gotten to the point where there is enough content people like that you probably don't ever have to make new stuff. If you were being deeply cynical, you could just repeatedly churn out the old stuff and enough people would watch it to become a viable business.
It's really I guess because the other idea is like, if you want your new stuff, go to your streaming services. If you want background noise of stuff you've seen 1,000 times, just chuck it on the television.
Because like there was this huge Suits resurgence like last summer.
And now we're getting new Suits.
Yeah, they're making a Suits spin-off because of it. And they didn't understand why people just wanted to watch Suits as comfort food. They're like, people clearly want more Suits. It's like, no, Suits and pretty much all of like the USA Network shows of that era, if you want like a Psych or a Burn Notice or any of those kind of shows, they are all like the perfect throw it on as background noise, pay like a quarter of your attention to it, and just live life gleefully without having to engage your brain kind of shows.
And they also doomed the Suits spin-off by casting Stephen Amell.
Oh, why would you do that?
As the lead.
No.
Which, like, has there ever been a more guaranteed way of ensuring your show doesn't get more than 2 seasons?
Yeah. Oh, they did cancel Heels, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, that was why Stephen Amell melted down over the strike as well, because the strike kind of fucked over Heels.
Well, you know what? I've always said that if you strike... What if I just turned really anti-union because they killed my wrestling show?
As the biggest fan of Heels yourself, you're like, how dare they take down my favorite wrestling-related scripted television show?
I've never seen the 2nd season of Heels.
It's just too raw now to watch.
Yeah, I how could I, you know?
So you are also very bad for not watching second season of shows you watch.
He's not charismatic enough.
No, he's not very good.
But he's not charismatic enough to be Suits, man.
But he was okay in Arrow, but the whole point of Arrow was that he was like stoic so he could get away with it.
Which is funny, because like Green Arrow is not bad. They're like, what if we took one of the guys who's the quippiest men in comic books and then be like, let's make him sad Batman.
Listen, that show ran for like 100 seasons, so clearly it was a good idea.
The CW like superhero stuff is interesting because they clearly had like one really good writing team that they would throw onto different shows for each season, and then that season would be good, and then they remove them and put them on like the Flash, and the Flash would be good, and then Arrow would stink for a season, and then they'd go back and forth like that forever.
I can't believe people watch every season of all of those shows. So many of them.
I watched 70% of it.
So much of it. Too much, some would say.
Well, then, because, like, it got really confusing when they started doing multiverse stuff. What was the best show was the fucking...
Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, Legends of Tomorrow rule.
Which is funny because it's a classic. I don't think it was very good at the start, or but maybe not what people wanted it to be at the start. And then they went to like we're just going to do like a Doctor Who thing where the Legends of Tomorrow go to a random period in time and get up to antics.
Yeah.
And then everyone had a good time.
And then like they replaced like the main guy and things got worse for a little bit. But they ended up... It's so funny how cheap those shows look.
Yes.
Which is like possibly like part of the charm.
Yeah, especially like when there's so much superhero stuff, I almost prefer just like TV stakes and TV, because like it is the problem with the movies these days. Not to get back to Madam Web, but with general superhero movies is just like they're going so big and then they become so CGI that they just become hollow and empty, and who could possibly care? As opposed to this TV stuff, which generally can't afford any of that, so it has to be like more grounded and interesting.
Shout out to Titans for keeping that spirit alive for a while.
I watched a couple seasons of Titans. I should watch the rest of it.
I liked the first season a lot, and then they did Nightwing, so I had to keep watching a little bit. That's done now?
I think it is done, yeah.
They did 4 seasons of that. It ended last year.
It's wrapped up. There's not that many actually superhero TV shows going at the moment.
Well, yeah, because like Marvel's trying to rekindle the Netflix stuff. But there hasn't been like... The last one was Echo.
Which I actually have not heard a fucking word about.
It's the one I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen Echo, and I haven't seen The Marvels yet.
I don't think anybody has seen Echo. I have not heard anybody talking about Echo.
Part of it is, I think, people just like, if I want to see the like Netflix verse stuff, I'll just wait for fucking Daredevil. Where like you're clearly going extra hard on it being the Netflix verse.
TNA pushed for a 90-minute show on a Monday night time slot. The idea being that...
Why? Stop doing that, you fucking idiots.
They were only going to go head-to-head with Raw for the last 30 minutes, so that the first hour would be unopposed, and then the last half hour would be going to war. But they can't leave it alone. It's insane.
I don't get it. I don't get the fascination with it. I don't like, why do you want to be killed so badly for 30 minutes of your TV show?
It does like put in context, like the actual Monday Night War that ended up happening in 2010 was not like this isolated thing. There was like an 8-year ramp up to them finally getting that shot to go head to head to get absolutely massacred.
Yeah, they really wanted it.
Spike, however, insisted on a 1-hour Thursday time slot instead. TNA gladly accepted the terms to move to primetime national basic cable for the first time ever. It will premiere at 9 p.m. on April 13th. And we have another Dixie quote. Ooh, we have 2.
The move to primetime on Spike is the most significant event in TNA wrestling's short history.
It says TNA Carter, Dixie President, TNA Wrestling. Let's go with that.
I am very proud of our entire team and all their hard work in achieving this milestone. Spike has been a fantastic partner, and we will have accomplished so much together in just 4 months. We look forward to continuing to work with them to grow the TNA brand during this exciting time.
Thank you, TNA Carter, Dixie President. We also have a quote from Kevin Kay. TNA Wrestling has been delivering strong ratings for Spike and is continually growing its audience. This is the GM of Spike TV, by the way.
Spike TV GM Kevin Kay said on Monday.
Wrestling fans have been looking for an alternative and have found it in TNA's brand of high-flying and action-packed entertainment. So TNA going prime time on Thursdays.
Kevin Kay impression.
I think he actually has this vaguely Irish sounding accent that's not quite Irish sounding, but has a little bit of Irish in it.
Yeah. Someone say Irish neutral.
It is Irish neutral. So that is TNA moving in April to prime time on Thursdays. Still 1 hour, but prime time.
What do you think, like, what's the ideal TV show length for weekly wrestling television?
I think in terms of having to actually have enough time to tell the stories you need to tell and give a roster enough time to develop, it does have to be at least 2. I think 90 minutes, in terms of like what's the best show for in the enjoyment of the viewer, it would probably be like 90 minutes.
I think it is 2. But that it's 2 if you can promise like exciting things to happen. Like to probably like produce the best show possible. Like it's probably closer to an hour and a half.
And unless you're watching live, it ends up being 90 minutes anyway. So
yeah, unless you're watching AEW on Fight.
Oh yeah, because they have the picture-in-picture stuff, so it ends up being like an hour 45. Because I think about half the breaks are picture-in-picture. I'm not sure.
It's I don't know. I feel like I don't have the patience for it, but also I'd be depressed if it was any shorter.
And like you can always skip through bad stuff.
No.
It's better to have more time for good stuff to develop than have less time, I guess.
You should just have good shows, I think.
I think that would be a solid strategy. Or if we booked good wrestling.
It would help, I think.
Members of TNA management have been in contact with Bret Hart with formal negotiations for appearances and with The Rock regarding other matters that could eventually lead to appearances and matches at a strategic time for Rock and the promotion. Although Chris Jericho says he doesn't want to wrestle at this time, TNA's schedule and the type of pay Sting is receiving could draw him out of retirement. TNA may need to sign another big name to show Spike TV they're serious about competing with WWE.
Sure. Listen, like, it's always good to get in these big names. I would spend more time trying to build our own original stars that people associate with our brand instead of just being like, look at these guys who were in the other company.
Yeah.
Wowzers.
And like, as we talked about, I think last month, there's the balance, right? There is like, what does Shannon Moore add? Absolutely fucking nothing. Why are you employing him? What does Chris Jericho add? Well, he's a star. He can wrestle. He can do promos. He can elevate the next generation. Okay. You know?
Yeah. You go after people who are worth going after, really.
Like Bret during this era, I get why you might want him because like he's almost the face of WWE Resistance in a way, even though he does agree to do the Hall of Fame literally this month.
Well, who did the like first AEW thing, right? When they were like very much like, we are the alternative, break down the walls. Different thing, but yeah, like they're like, hey, Bret, come out and bring our title out.
And then obviously that's like, if you could get The Rock, you do take The Rock, even though it was never fucking happening.
Yeah.
There are also rumblings that since TNA has talked to Goldberg in the past, they are in talks with him again about him being a part of their primetime debut in April. The connection here is that Goldberg is on Spike TV's new TV show, Pros vs. Joes, where everyday people take on
I remember Pros vs. Joes.
old athletes. So Goldberg was featured on that. Kurt Angle was featured on an episode as well.
Didn't they do like a fighting episode?
They probably did, because like the people on the first season included Jerry Rice, Bo Jackman, Dennis Rodman, John Rocker. I don't know half these people are, as well as Goldberg.
Yeah, I think they did like have like Randy Couture and Roy Jones Jr. and stuff.
Yeah, I have no doubt that they did indeed do some MMA stuff, especially because like Spike was on UFC was on the network at the same time, so they no doubt wanted to do some cross promotional stuff, like they did with TNA with Kurt Angle being on an episode. But yeah, it was a fun show idea. You don't get fun show ideas anymore.
Well, yeah. Do you remember the like Bully Beatdown? Do you remember that show?
No.
Bully Beatdown was like this sort of like Jerry Springer-esque show where like nerds would get the people that bully them to come on the show, and then they would fight MMA fighters in the cage.
It's a good bit.
It's fucking sick.
I hope they actually shoot like proper like work them over.
Well, they did. They beat the fuck out of them, but like, who knows if it like work? Like, it was all at work, right?
You would have to sign documentation for it to appear on television, unless they blurred the faces as they beat the shit out of them.
My God. It has been suggested that Bully Beatdown is largely staged,
Boo!
and that in most cases, the bully-victim combo had never even met prior to taping of each episode.
That's a full
One
work?
of the
That's
bullies,
disappointing.
in quotation marks, depicted had included his appearance on the show in his acting resume. Another bully is a professional stuntman who had previously appeared on other TV shows.
Here. Television not being real? God damn it.
But, alternatively, in response, the host, Jason Mayhem Miller, wrote what he labelled a troll post in which he called the show completely fake to mock those who call the show fake. Miller later stated on his blog that the physical beatings depicted on the show could not be faked. He referred to the bullies as douchebags who actually believe they can beat professional fighters. Miller maintained the show is legit.
Did you ever have a bully you would have liked to invite on Bully Beatdown?
Not to that extent, probably.
What MMA fighter would you have liked to invite to beat up your bully on Bully Beatdown?
Ngannou.
I definitely know who that is.
Francis Ngannou?
I don't know modern UFC people. I don't keep up with it.
Well, he left UFC because they wouldn't pay him enough as he was the heavyweight champion.
Hell yeah.
Very based, cool guy. And then he does boxing fights, and he fought Tyson Fury as like classic sort of like pride bullshit where it's like boxing champion of the world versus UFC champion, even though like he's not, because he never lost the belt when he left. That kind of
Some would
shit.
say he's the real UFC champion.
Right. And like giant heavyweight that would just break a dude's head.
Is he going to start UFC Collision soon?
He should. It would be awesome. I want him in wrestling so bad. Like, the only company that could afford to pay him, like, the ridiculous stuff would be WWE. Like, but I want it. I want it so badly.
There's also now the weird thing that WWE is under the same banner as UFC, so...
Then it won't happen. Like, now Tony has to make it happen. Now Tony has to bring him in.
Just out of spite.
Well, yeah, because he's, again, like, face of rebellion, right? You get the guy that can't go anywhere else. Unfortunately, you will have to pay him at least, like, $2 million per appearance.
Yeah, that's worth it.
It would be awesome, though, and that's really all that matters. Who do you book for him against?
On the AEW roster?
Wardlow. You do the cage gimmick that you did with Hager.
Always make it Darby Allin.
He would kill Darby
Yes,
Allin.
that is the entire appeal of Darby Allin.
Francis Ngannou's fist is probably bigger than Darby Allin.
Just to have people murder Darby. Bring in every celebrity you can to kill Darby.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh god, I want Francis Ngannou to show up in AEW now.
Goldberg was on the Bubba the Love Sponge show and teased the idea of going to TNA, but Dave says it is premature to say it's even expected, but both sides are hopeful. But Dave does reveal that one of the two names that he was talking about on last month's episode, about huge names that could go to TNA, one of them was Bill Goldberg.
My god.
So there you go.
Who was the other? We'll never know.
It's The Rock. It's clearly The Rock. It's like, come on.
We'll never know. Isn't it funny how, like, Bill Goldberg, like, we've had, like, these exact same rumors with, like, AEW for so long?
Yeah, he's a guy who knows how to keep his name out there, isn't he? Even if he never does anything.
Are you interested in anything with Goldberg in 2024?
I think if you did, like, a little retirement run where he did, like, 4 matches, I'd be on board for that. Because, like, Sting is going to be gone in March, so he can just kind of slot into the Sting role for a little while.
Like, do it for the rest of the year?
Yeah, and then you can get a what's this? It's not Rebellion, it's Revolution. You can get a Revolution retirement show.
Is the retirement
of
show?
the old WCW stars, yeah.
Alright. Who would you have Goldberg's last match be?
The last match would be against Wardlow, and then Wardlow beats him, and Wardlow's the new Goldberg. The Wardlow, I don't think anybody has. Every time they keep trying to reboot Wardlow, and it's like, oh guys, it's just not there anymore. It's just gone.
No, the moment passed.
It's the hair, I'm telling you. It's just the hair.
It's the hair. What if by the time it gets to Revolution 2025, Wardlow has the ponytail back?
Thumbs up, he can win the world title again.
It is crazy how the hair, like, completely nerfed that guy.
It's actually insane. I've never seen a haircut do more to, like, shatter a guy's star image than it did with Wardlow. It's insane.
I guess it's like if Jeff Hardy had shaved his head.
That would be quite weird.
You'd be like, who is this guy now?
Someone may have alerted TNA president, speaking of Jeff Hardy, to drug problems in wrestling. After Dixie claimed the TNA locker room was free of drug problems in an interview several months ago.
Yeah, the drugs are suddenly free.
Dixie acknowledged TNA's current ongoing effort to clean up the locker room. Oh, so many Dixie quotes.
That has always been a priority for us.
Dixie told Between the Ropes Radio on Wednesday.
We're in a slightly different position. Our guys work for us a couple days a month, and then they work for different promoters across the world on an ongoing basis, so they're not specifically TNA employees.
Dixie brought up past drug problems in the locker room and said management is keeping a close eye on the wrestlers.
Now, we've had situations where we have had to become involved in certain things just to make sure everything works out.
Dixie said, what a sentence.
We're even looking at trying to change and upgrade our internal policies. It's something we take very, very seriously just for the protection of everyone, quite honestly.
We've had situations where we have had to become involved in certain things just to make sure everything works out.
That is some Tony Khan level talking around the question.
What a sentence right there. What a, like, loaded sentence that also says absolutely nothing at all.
Yeah.
We've only, like, fired Jeff Hardy twice for no showing.
And we'll do it again.
So yeah, after being like, it's not a problem here. TNA's great. It's like, maybe it might be a little bit of a problem. Maybe, but only, like, sometimes.
How often is Dixie talking to media?
Well, Dixie and Joe did, like, a round of media after the announcement of the Spike Primetime thing. So
yeah, but I feel like she's like has quotes in the Observer every week.
Well, like, anytime there's, like, a press release that, like, it will be like the president will have a quote and it's just like, this is the best thing that ever happened. It's so great.
Many press releases.
Well, like, it was a notable thing. They did get a primetime deal. That is like they're not just, I know, like, but, like, nothing.
I'm saying historically There's just so much all the time.
You gotta know what Dixie was thinking.
I guess so.
That's why she started the Twitter.
Follow me on Twitter.
During last week's TNA conference call, X-Division Champion Samoa Joe was asked about his current contract negotiations with TNA. He confirmed he was upset with his pay, but that's why he was negotiating a long-term contract with the company. We're currently still in the process of hammering out the details, but I'm sure we will come to the conclusion very soon, Joe said. Asked if he was upset with other wrestlers such as Kevin Nash receiving large sums of money to work with TNA, Joe said he was not upset and doesn't have problems with anybody else making money. He would just like to also make money. One source says Joe's current contract guarantees him only $2,000 a month, which would explain his desire to get a raise if that's true.
$2,000 a month for what is he doing? Like 2 tapings?
Yeah.
Pay-per-view? They do the pay-per-view during the same tapings?
Currently it is usually pay-per-view, a day of TV, and then a day of TV to cover all. Actually, are they taping 4? I don't think they're taping 4 at once at the moment. I think it's pay-per-view, 2 impacts, come back for another 2 impacts.
So basically like 3 days.
3 days a month. He's making give or take $24,000 a year.
$2,000. I mean, if you want him to be exclusive, it's not enough.
Yeah, it's not money to live on.
It's like it's decent, but like he clearly would need to take other bookings still.
Yeah. The non-clean finish to AJ Styles versus Hiroshi Tanahashi was devised to build up the Styles-Shannon Moore feud and allow Tanahashi to save face in Japan since the match has been covered by Japanese media. TNA is planning to bring back the X Cup tournament in the spring. Black Tiger, Tiger Mask, and Tanahashi are expected to compete.
My God, what a trio.
You only get one of them, I think, in the X Cup this time.
Tiger
Black
Mask?
Tiger, Rocky Romero.
Tiger Mask does do dates eventually.
Yeah, he does some stuff in 2008 and 2007.
Yeah.
It's Liger, Black Tiger, Minoru Tanaka, and Haruki Goto is the team you'll get in a couple of months.
It's a pretty great
It's
team.
not bad.
Despite the fact you hate Tiger Mask.
I do. I hate Tiger Mask 4 with a deep, burning, seething passion. Pass the gimmick on.
I just want to hang out with him. I think it'd be really cool to like go have a beer with.
Just pass it on. Stand on your own 2 feet. Stop clinging to the Tiger Mask legs because you know you have nothing else going for you.
He's been Tiger Mask longer than Tiger Mask.
Yeah, that's the problem.
He is Tiger Mask.
Give it up.
Never.
Pro Wrestling Noah will air on North American television for the first time later this month when tapes of some of the company's biggest shows start arriving on the Fight Network in Canada. The Fight Network contacted Mike Tenay about doing the English voiceovers for Noah, but TNA was negative toward that, so it's not happening.
Why would they give a shit?
Well, because Mike Tenay is a TNA contracted talent and they don't want him to do other wrestling. Do you know the fun bit of trivia of who ends up doing commentary for those Fight Network tapes?
Isn't it Mauro?
It's Mauro Ranallo. Mauro ends up getting that gig.
Yeah. I've never seen that footage. Someone has it. Send it to me.
You can find a lot of the stuff on YouTube, I think, or
with the English
on
commentary.
Dailymotion. You can at least find some Mauro Ranallo called Noah.
Shoutouts to the Mauro Ranallo, Josh Barnett called New Japan from like the early access stuff. Some of like my favorite New Japan stuff at the time because it was like in HD as opposed to anything else, and with English commentary that was solid.
Matt Hardy won't say he made the incorrect decision going to WWE over TNA because TNA did not have a television deal at the time of his negotiations, but there is still a hint of regret from Matt. If I was making that decision now, TNA being on Spike would definitely have made a difference, Matt told the UK Sun earlier this week. Plus, the WWE was my family. I hated the way I left and I didn't want to go out like that, so I enjoyed the opportunity to come back and make things right. There was also the chance to make good money. I do sometimes think about what would have happened if I went to TNA, but you can't live like that, second guessing things you've done. The reality is, I'm in the WWE and already have a lot of good matches and moments since coming back. It does seem to be a little bit of regret there.
Do you think he would have been a palpable difference in 2005?
Like, when he left WWE, he had so much sympathy and people were so behind him. And then when he...
Yeah, people were into him.
Like, he was actually, like, cool. People were really into him. He still wasn't great. So you wouldn't have didn't like main event Matt Hardy, because ultimately he would have hit against that ceiling of still being Matt Hardy. But he had a ton of momentum behind him. Then he went back and they punked him out a bunch and kicked him to SmackDown. So, like... Because I think at this point he was already bumped off the SmackDown because I think he had lost to Edge in that Loser Leaves Raw match. So, like, he'd already done the feud with Edge, which he lost, and then was kicked off the SmackDown. So it's just like, well.
It would have been interesting to have seen him in that point. It would have been a hot name at the time, at least.
You would have gotten a bunch of Hardy's AMW stuff, which is the only thing. It would have made it worthwhile to get a Hardy's AMW match. Raven has had some health issues recently, but he was not consulted before plans were made to may have him lose to Sean Waltman at the last pay-per-view and be taken off TV indefinitely. The tentative plan is to bring him back in a few months, but he's not on Jeff Jarrett's good side since he has been outspoken with key members of management over the past year about aspects of the way TNA has been run that he disagreed with. I'd imagine that main aspect is Jeff Jarrett being world champion.
Yeah, because, like, let's be real, Raven is not a man to shut his mouth about things he perceives to be being booked incorrectly.
And it does seem like it's the defining thing of the last, 3 years. Raven's been around for 3 years in TNA now. Of, him and Jarrett. The people who are destined rivals on television somehow never wrestling as much as they should have because there's very clearly issues going on between the two of them.
And they don't have someone above either of them to really be like, just do it.
It's a classic CM Punk Young Buck situation.
Yeah.
The money to be made with Raven and Jarrett, and they just never went back to it. The battle lines have been drawn between the latest wrestling promotion to gain a primetime cable clearance and an upstart that has just run one show but is funded by MTV. Wrestling Society X, the name for the Big Vision Entertainment-owned wrestling promotion that taped an MTV-funded pilot last week in Los Angeles, almost lost several of its advertised wrestlers within hours of the show. TNA, spurred by new CEO Kevin Day, decided to be aggressive in creating a bit of a headache for WSX. Sean Waltman was offered a TNA contract which he turned down. Bill Behrens, who also worked for TNA at the time, informed WSX that 3 or 4 wrestlers he represented had been offered contracts by TNA that week. Matt Sydal, Delirious, New Jack, and Alter Boy Luke, all scheduled to be part of the WSX tapings, were said to have been suddenly added to TNA's want list. TNA just fucking with WSX.
I like this idea that they were like, Samoa Joe, $2,000 a month. These random 4 nerds from WSX, $5,000 a week.
Yeah, the rumored amount was $5,000 per week to some of the wrestlers, although that turned out to be greatly exaggerated.
You could probably take off a 0 or 2 from it.
Yeah, literally 50, I'd imagine. But especially like fucking Alter Boy Luke. In TNA's defense, if the wrestlers had signed the TNA contracts, they would have still been allowed to work the WSX pilot taping. However, TNA management knew that WSX had written into its contracts that any wrestlers at the pilot had committed to several months of exclusivity. MTV didn't want to approve a pilot a few weeks from now, only to find out that most or all of the wrestlers participating had been signed by another wrestling promotion to exclusive deals. It does remind me a little bit of the Lucha Underground stuff, where they,
of course it is.
They obviously signed much deeper contracts with Lucha Underground that tied them in for, I think some of them were 7 years. But yeah, MTV are currently blowing money on a new wrestling product for WSX, and they're trying to put together a roster, and TNA's like, we like Matt Sydal, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's very funny that they were like, we have to fuck with them though.
Yeah, they're like, we are scared of WSX, so we have to take them down before they can even start.
Garrett, I've loved hearing about Wrestling Society X.
Oh, have you, Liam?
If I wanted to listen to more about it, where would I go?
Well, Liam, are you so lucky? We have done a full series about Wrestling Society X, covering every episode and some background stuff, because some dude sent us tweets on Twitter every so often about WSX. So, if you would like to hear all of those, Liam, do you know where you can go?
I don't have a fucking clue.
You can head to patreon.com/kiddingme or tnachat.com, where you can listen to every episode of our Wrestling Society X series, as well as all our other series. It's just $5. You can listen to the whole series. You can pay $5, listen to the whole thing.
Wow, I want to go subscribe right now and also make 4 or 5 other accounts at the same tier.
Or the $10 tier if you'd like.
And also PayPal Garrett Kidney $700 directly.
Yeah, me, not Liam. So in effect, if the wrestler chose to sign with TNA, they wouldn't be able to sign contracts with WSX the day of the show. It turned out that all but Delirious turned down TNA's last second offers. I think Delirious doesn't even end up in TNA either, so I'm not sure why Delirious is so singled out there, because I don't think Delirious ever appears again.
Maybe he was the only one that responded to the email.
Also, TNA had given permission for Terry Taylor to help out behind the scenes with the taping, but rescinded that permission just a day or so before the taping. In fact, Taylor had been inside TV production meetings in Los Angeles in the days before the pilot, so the information he gathered from those meetings could provide information to TNA on their perceived competitor. So they had a corporate spy.
That's so awesome.
They sent Terry Taylor there to snoop. WSX didn't consider themselves competition to TNA, otherwise they wouldn't have openly brought in Taylor since he also works for TNA. But TNA felt it was best to not mix wrestlers or producers, because they're a little bit gotten too.
because they're a little isolationist right now.
It is funny that like MTV and Spike are both Viacom properties. They're in the same corporate family.
Should have done a Wrestling Society X Invasion. Have Vampiro come in.
Yeah, that's how you could have gotten the Ricky Banderas showing up.
Would have been awesome.
Yeah, the idea that you'd be super scared, or maybe they were like, what if this catches on and they'll replace us on Spike with them? Maybe that was some of their thought process, but like, guys, have confidence in what you're doing. Come on.
Well, like, I don't know. TNA is a product of its environment, and a lot of the people there are also very insecure about their spots, so I imagine that reflects on the company at times.
Conspiratorial gotten to pro wrestlers until the very end. AJ Styles told BarbaricWrestling.com that he doesn't think the MTV Big Vision promotion will work, and said if MTV wanted wrestling, they should have just aired TNA instead.
But you're on Spike, which is bigger now?
There is some MTV TNA crossovers as well. There's episodes of Made that feature TNA stars. Do you remember Made?
No, what is Made?
It's basically they send like a celebrity to help like a teenager achieve their goal. So like a teenager's like, I'd like to be a wrestler. So AJ Styles goes and helps them be a wrestler. There's also an episode with the Motor City Machine Guns as well.
That's cute. I want to say, what other like wrestlers in TV are there?
Well, there's a lot of like quiz show stuff. I saw some of the TNA on Family Feud doing the rounds.
Yeah, that's good crossover shit.
Or Family Fortunes if you're based in the UK, with Steve Harvey just deadpanning at everything the wrestlers said. There's a lot of wrestlers like there's the classic like WWE on Fear Factor, WWE on Weakest Link.
WWE on Silent Library.
What's Silent Library?
Oh, Silent Library, it's honestly one of the best ones ever, because they just sent all the mid-carders to do Silent Library.
I still don't know what it is.
So, like, the gimmick is that they do, like, horrific shit to them, like, throw, like, bowls at their nuts and shit, and they can't make a sound or, like, register on the decibel meter. And I want to get, I think I remember all of them, but I want to make sure it's right. Let me tell you this who's who of people that they brought into Silent Library. Nick Nemeth,
Ooh.
Kalen Croft,
Oh, Dude Buster.
Brian Myers,
Kings.
Chris Masters,
Did he do the Master Lock silently?
and JTG.
Someone argue he does the Master Lock silently all the time because he gets no reaction, am I right?
I also think, Trent was also on it. Like, there's a great bit, like, they get, a baseball, like, taped to the top of a baseball cap, and they get a kid to come in and just whack the, Chris Masters in the head with a bat.
Get him. Deserves it.
It's 20 minutes. It's from the MTV Vault. It's on YouTube. Everyone should watch it if you haven't seen it. But I found a list of 21 TV appearances featuring wrestlers.
Okay. Does it include, like, scripted shows, or is it all reality?
These are scripted shows. Which are more interesting. First one, very sad, and also, like, weird timing with it, but Ashley Massaro on Smallville.
Oh.
A lot of stuff going on there right now, so
That would be Bad Company, Evil Company.
Kane on Smallville.
A lot of wrestlers on Smallville.
Because didn't Batista do Smallville?
I don't think so.
Edge did?
John Cena was in Psych.
Fuck you. Batista was on Smallville.
No, I don't remember that.
Charmed, Buff Bagwell.
Oh, that's the crossover everyone wants.
Charmed, Booker T and Scott Steiner.
They got all the WCW wrestlers.
Parks and Recreation, John Cena. Of course, we all remember that one. Boy Meets World Vader. That's like the most in like Mankind. The Flash, Adam Copeland.
I don't remember that at all.
I've watched a lot of The Flash and I don't remember that. Desperate Housewives, Goldberg.
That's awesome. What a combination.
Law and Order SVU, Goldberg.
What an acting resume Bill Goldberg has.
Can you name the 4 wrestlers that were on that 70s show, Garrett?
No.
The Rock, Ken Shamrock, all these TNA stars, and the Hardy Boys.
Yeah, all of them have featured in TNA in some capacity.
The Thundermans, Chris Jericho.
Not a real show. Not a real person.
That's Adult Swim. That doesn't count. Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Kevin Nash.
I don't remember that. I feel like I remember that.
Supernatural, The Miz.
Ugh.
Star Trek Voyager, The Rock.
Big get for them.
Highlander the Series, Roddy Piper.
That makes sense.
The X-Files, Rob Van Dam.
Oh yeah, that also makes sense. Dude,
That makes a lot of sense.
aliens.
There's others, but they're less exciting, so I'm gonna just leave it with that one. The Rock really got onto like shitty TV, huh?
Well,
I shouldn't say shitty TV. He was on that 70s show.
yeah, he was a big star in the 90s, so he did some crossover stuff before he was like, I'm
Which is funny because like now it feels like what's the word I'm looking for? Like passe to do it now. To do like a crossover like that. Of course, we also had Cody Rhodes on Arrow back in the day.
Yeah, it's mostly because like TV is now like prestige as opposed to like we'll do a goofy crossover with the thing that's popular.
Yeah, and like anything that will do the crossover is like lame.
Mm.
Charlotte Flair was in Psych the movie, Garrett.
Whoa.
How did you feel about that?
I loved it.
You love Psych the movie.
I like the first and third one. Second one's not great. Third one's really good, though.
I'm just looking to see if there's anything. DDP was on Superstition.
I don't even know what Superstition is.
Sci-fi show. A lot of sci-fi crossovers. That's it. I'm run out.
There are no serious talks whatsoever regarding names like Harry Smith or Kevin Steen that have been bandied about on the internet.
To be fair, 2006 would be very early.
Especially for Kevin Steen, yeah. It was probably around the time Harry Smith was signed. I guess maybe 2007 he was probably signed by WWE, right?
And like Steen was like doing PWG by that point, but like and like even ROH, but just a little too early, you'd think.
There have been no official discussions regarding Matt Sydal, although Jeremy Borash went to an ROH show a couple of weeks ago and said he was impressed by Sydal. Regarding rumors, very timely, of a CMLL tie-in, TNA is trying to go through New Japan to open doors to talking with Paco Alonso. Step 1 has not even taken place, so any thoughts of using CMLL guys right now is several political steps away. Now, if you think if TNA was in full control, the idea of having Conan do promos and bring in some people that he names, or other stars.
Los Perros del Mal and Los Infernos.
Yes, or other stars would appeal to them, of course.
Pianos.
Mike Tenay is a big Lucha follower, but the politics of Conan with Paco Alonso...
Oh, he loves Bandito's promotion? Boom, got him.
But the politics of Conan with Paco Alonso look on the surface to make that move difficult to impossible. And it hasn't even gotten to step 1 at that point, which is very funny to think about the difficulty and the politics between Conan and CMLL. Not at all a current news story.
What are you talking about? That's just like regular backstage information coming in.
Nice to see that Conan was a source for the Wrestling Observer, even all the way back here. I saw someone mention it, and I think it's very true. There is sometimes when the note in the Observer is so clearly from who it's from, like it is so transparent who it's from. It's like you might as well have just put the name Conan at the end of it.
Well, there's like, it's funny, like, it's not even just him, right? Like, it's different. There's points where you're like, in the Observer this week, we have a story that says Chris Jericho should earn way more money than he earns right now.
Yeah.
He's such a giant star, should win every match and earn all of this money. And you're like, oh, I wonder who that one came from.
On the topic of Jericho, both Jericho and Christian Cage will have roles in the movie Shoot 'Em Up, starring Clive Owen and Paul Giamatti. Dave says he's not sure it's 100% signed, but it's been confirmed on both of them by movie people but it's been confirmed to us the decision on both of them by movie people have been made, is the sentence Dave wrote there. But the movie starts filming on February 13th in Toronto, the day after the TNA pay-per-view. Dave's of the impression this will have no bearing on Christian's direction and that it won't affect him being on TV. But part of the reason he left WWE is to take up film roles like this.
Garrett, I am looking at the Shoot 'Em Up IMDb and I'm not seeing any Chris Jericho or Christian Cage listed.
I'm fairly certain Christian's in the movie.
Was he under his real name?
Jay Riso.
He is under his real name.
They're not going to put Christian Cage on the IMDb, to be fair.
No. Like, he wasn't even listed, like anywhere near it either. It doesn't look like Jericho was in it, though.
Clearly, he didn't make the role. But yeah, I was like, Christian is definitely in that movie. I remember them talking about it.
Do we watch that for our thing?
To add the list of, like, Sting Moment of Truth and all the other TNA movies.
Yeah.
We did watch, if you'd like to go to patreon.com/gettingme, you can hear our review of State of Play. State of Play? Head of State. That's the name of that movie.
Head of State. State of the Play. Yeah, the video game stuff. The State of Play.
Yeah, we did a review of Head of State with Chris Rock where they did a scene in the asylum.
We should do a Christian Cage-a-thon and watch everything he's been in.
I don't think we'd find a single good movie.
He was in 6 episodes of the TV show Haven.
What wrestler, other than a wrestler who is an actor, so like Cena and Batista and The Rock don't count, but like, what wrestler do you think has the best filmography in terms of actual, like, good movies?
Do we count, like, TV as well?
No, we're talking movies.
Okay. Well, Money Plane isn't very good. Who's had, like... But because, like, you need to think of someone that had, like, a role, right?
Yeah, so, like, Kevin Nash would be a decent shout, I think.
Piper,
obviously, has had some decent movies.
Hogan
has not been in any good movies. Not a single one. Not one good movie.
Santa with muscles.
Oh, I saw some clips doing the rounds of Thunder in Paradise, and I was like, oh lord, why does this exist? There's like a final scene where Hogan makes out with somebody that is the most unpleasant thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's probably Piper, right?
I would say Piper or Nash.
Because Nash is still doing stuff. Goldberg's done some stuff.
Yeah, like Nash has done the John Wick. Like Longest Yard's a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
Punisher's a pretty good movie.
Austin did some stuff.
He was in the Magic Mike movies, which are pretty good. So Nash has a decent hit rate.
Steve Austin did The Condemned, The Expendables, and The Longest Yard.
So Condemned isn't great. Well, Condemned's all right. Expendables is pretty good, and Longest Yard is pretty good. I haven't watched The Longest Yard in years and years. It might be terrible.
You know who the sneaker hit might be?
Who?
The Great Khali.
What movies has the great? Hasn't he been in MacGruber?
He was. I'm gonna read it to you right. Get Smart.
All right.
Banger. The Longest Yard. Banger. MacGruber.
Oh.
Banger. He does have 5 upcoming roles where he's. He is in these are the 5 movies he's coming up. He's in Zombie Rome.
Right.
Where he plays Gladiator Giant Singh.
Isn't that his shoot name?
He is in a movie called Necromancer.
Ooh.
Where he plays the Great Khali.
A real range for this man.
And he is in Zombie Brothel. Where he plays brothel security.
At least it's a role that's not just himself. That one he'll have to dive deep into in method act.
But yeah, he's got like a bunch of like I don't know, I don't want to say Bollywood stuff, but like a lot of Indian based movies.
Which who knows how good they are, but he has made them.
So, you know, Triple H, he has Blade.
He has The Chaperone.
That's the one I was trying to think of, but I couldn't remember.
He has thousands of links to playing Thor without playing Thor.
He's in Vengeance, the movie.
Not the pay-per-view.
No.
WWE Vengeance Day.
This is definitely not. This is not Triple H. I mean, this is something else. Where he's been credited as playing Spider-Man, which I don't remember.
Yeah, it was in like the 2002 movie.
He was Spider-Man?
He was Spider-Man. He's like, gay Norman Osborn, play it.
I forgot that he did Billions.
Oh, that scene in Billions. Oh.
Just...
I've never watched a full episode of Billions, but every time I've ever seen any of it, it seems terrible.
It looks like worse Suits.
What was the name of Baller? It looks like worse Ballers to me.
Billions has an 8.3 on IMDb.
Lies. I will never believe it. I'm sorry.
Triple H is in The Secret Life of Pets 2 Stuffed Animals version.
Is he in the WWE Scooby-Doo movie?
He is. He's also in Surf's Up 2 Wave Mania.
Oh, all the hits.
He's in Scooby-Doo WrestleMania Mystery and Scooby-Doo and WWE Curse of the Speed Demon. I've seen both of those.
Randy Savage would have... he's in Spider-Man. He's in...
Yeah, but that's like it.
He's in Bolt. He has a role in Bolt, the Disney movie.
Yeah. Triple H is also in Inside Out, which has a 4.5.
It's true. The Pixar movie?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, this is a Michael Rappaport movie.
The less said, the better.
Where Triple H has a gun. A man is released from prison after serving a long time for killing a man who tried to kill his best friend. Once out, he just wants to live a normal life, but his best friend immediately gets him into a new heap of serious trouble.
Sounds terrible.
Polar Vest Skin, Inside Out. I think that should be our next movie.
Yeah, you make a list of movies we'll review for Patreon.
We got Edge and Jamie Kennedy in Bending the Rules. Don't want to watch a Jamie Kennedy movie?
No.
Why not? The Big Show in Knucklehead.
Oh yeah, Big Show. He's in Jingle All the Way.
Adam Edge Copeland, CJ Lana Perry, Interrogation.
Now we're just Edge is like a candidate for the worst person in terms of like quality of movies.
We can watch that movie where like Dolph Ziggler super kicks Rusev. We have Dean Ambrose starring in 12 Rounds 3.
WWE movies don't count.
Mox also did that MMA movie.
Oh, Kurt's done some stuff, but not much of it is good.
Adam Copeland, Kelsey Grammer, Money Play.
So yeah, I do think it's either Nash or Piper.
Oh yeah, I've been doing this for like 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Just reading different wrestling movies.
Well, you went through every wrestling TV show, and now you've went through every wrestling movie, so people are very well informed about this
I feel like that should be a series that we do.
Just watching every wrestler movie?
Yeah, watch along. Mystery Science Theater style. Once a month, we do a wrestling movie.
Sure. If you would like to actually commit to that, I'm on board.
$30 tier.
No. Besides Glenn Gilberti and Tom Pritchard, Jeff Kavanagh was also brought in for a tryout as an agent and temporary interviewer while Shane Douglas is in rehab. His wife put him in there for a painkiller problem. If you're wondering why Terry Taylor does backstage interviews at one point this month. Kavanagh works with Border City Wrestling, so his connection would be with Scott D'Amore. This was the description I was given of all three. This is Dave. Kavanagh, who is nicknamed Drum Boy, has good potential in the role, but was nervous. Overall, not bad. Jeff Kavanagh still works with TNA today. Lovely fella. Gilberti was better, but also nervous. The problem with him was that he got on a lot of people's nerves at the show, trying too hard to be everyone's friend and telling jokes. Some thought he was overbearing. Glenn Gilberti? No.
A tryhard who's overbearing.
Pritchard wasn't nervous at all and was said to be the best of the three, but it was joked that he looked like he was transported directly out of the 70s. And our last note for the month, Jerry Jarrett hasn't been seen in a TNA event since his stunt meeting at WWE headquarters 7 months ago with Oleg Prudius or Vladimir Kotlov.
That's so funny.
That is the news. That brings us to broad topics, starting with the big NWA World Title match between Jeff Jarrett and Christian Cage, which is the main event of Against All Odds 2006. The January 21st Impact is built around teasing after the Final Resolution main event of Sting and Christian Cage against Jeff Jarrett and Monty Brown. Sting is about to appear on television, but the whole first episode this month is built around Sting actually not appearing on television.
Yeah, like, it's such a funny bit to be like, pay-per-view, Sting's here, wow, things are crazy. And then the next TV show to be like, wow, Sting's not here anymore.
But, like, the first half of it is like, Sting will be here tonight. It's Sting's first appearance on TV since WCW. Sting will be here tonight. And then halfway through the episode, it's like, Sting's not here tonight, he'll be here next week.
He's late.
How do you feel about that as, like, a bait and switch? Do you think, like, some of the audience will be like, what the fuck, Sting?
Well, I think it's very bold to start off Sting's run with a he isn't here regardless. I think that doing a bait and switch is worse than the bad decision.
Yeah, so this episode opens with Don West in the car park. He's awaiting the arrival of Sting. He's like, Sting's gonna be here tonight. He's gonna be on TV for the first time. Mike Tenay on commentary for the whole show is like, Sting, Sting's here. And then like halfway through, Franchise is with Larry Zbyszko, and Franchise is like, dude, what's the deal? Sting's not here. And Larry's like, Sting has been delayed. He'll be here next week, and we'll also have an announcement about Jeff Jarrett's Against All Odds opponent. And then Franchise is like, ooh, we did loads of things with Sting. Is something wrong with Sting? What's going on with Sting? And then Monty comes in and shouts about how he wants the world title shot, and he steals the world title contract from him.
I love how defensive Larry Z gets, because like the implication being at this point that he's like fumbling Sting.
Yeah.
And he's like, there's nothing wrong with Sting. Stop saying there's something wrong with Sting.
Like, hey, stop it. Everything's going fine. He'll be here next week.
And everyone's like, yeah. They're like, how did you fuck this?
Yeah, so Larry had like the world title contract, and he's like, there's going to be a name on it, but then Monty comes in and steals it.
What? Monty is like so weird this year.
That's because they don't know what to do with him.
But like, especially this month, he's just like a weird freak. And more than normal.
There's a promo on the pay-per-view where like Jarrett's doing his interview and Monty interrupts him, and Jarrett's like, I know what you're going to say. I want my title shot. Pounds period. Hunter be hunted. Serengeti. It's like, yeah, that is actually what Monty says in every one of his promos. But also Jeff Jarrett is not one allowed to say you cut the same promo every week.
But also it's like they're really like turning him again.
Well, because like Jarrett's the heel champion, so they have to put Monty opposed to Jarrett somewhat.
But like the whole point was that he was like heel with Jarrett, and now they're like,
he's back to being like, I want your title. You're not wrong.
Out of nowhere. Like there wasn't like a switch for it. It was just like 1 week he decided, oh yeah, I want to be a champion again.
So Christian comes out at the end of the show. He's like, Sting can't be here because he's watching the life story of Monty Brown and Jeff Jarrett at the movies. That's Brokeback Mountain.
Owned because they're gay. You get
They're gay, Liam. Yes, they're gay.
Because gay.
Have you considered they're gay? Jokes.
Because they're gay.
Christian says that Sting will have a major announcement to make next week. Jarrett comes out and says the usual stuff, but he says, I don't care who faces me. He actually names drops Chris Jericho here as well as a potential option. He's like, your pal Chris Jericho.
People got so excited after he said the name too. And I'm like, don't tease them.
Monty comes out. Rhino makes the save. Both Christian and Rhino eye up the contract because Monty brought the contract with him. Rhino goes to pick it up. Christian stands on it. Then Abyss shows up and we get more brawling as Monty picks up the contract, looks at it for himself. It's like, what if I got the title shot to Alpha Male?
And it's like, okay, I get, yeah, because we're getting close to the end of Monty, aren't we?
Yeah, we get to July, I think, July or August, and that's the end of Monty. So we are running out of time.
So he has to go be Marcus Corvan.
No. Then he never returns.
You're going down, down,
Just
down,
call me
down.
smooth.
To be fair, if Monty had that theme in TNA, he would have been world champion. Because that theme is amazing.
The January 28th Impact opens with Jeff Jarrett versus Jay Lethal.
Fun combination, considering.
Yeah, Jarrett gives Lethal a lot here as well. Like, Jarrett doesn't just squash him. He gives, like, a proper near fall. Because Jackie Gata comes out with a tape recorder. She hands it to Gail, and as Jarrett insists, nothing is wrong. What are you talking about? Everything's fine. Lethal hits, like, a great springboard dropkick and then gets a little near fall on a diving headbutt before Jarrett beats him with a stroke in which Lethal, like, leapt 16 feet in the air for.
Yeah. It's so funny that, like, they're wrestling each other, like, in one of, like, you know, Lethal's first 5 matches?
First 5? Yeah, he wrestled Joe, and he had another match on TV, alright, didn't he? So maybe his 3rd or 4th?
Yeah. Yeah, and then, like, you know, now Lethal and Jarrett are, like, on TV linked.
Honestly, I didn't even think about that until right now. It's like, oh yeah, these guys are in a stable at AEW.
Yeah, they're in Heat. They just wrestled the Bang Bang Scissor Gang.
I did see that, with teaming with the Dark Order for some reason.
Because they're all heels.
The stroke was the Morphoplex move of the night, in case you were wondering.
Oh, had AEW, first week that we had a move of the night.
Did they do that recently?
This week.
Oh, who was it sponsored by?
The EVP trigger was the move of the night. I'll find out who it was sponsored
Was
by.
it Morphoplex?
It was not. I would have freaked the fuck out if it was Morphoplex. The TurboTax move of the night.
Oh.
TurboTax is too close to fucking Morphoplex.
It does feel in the same universe, doesn't it? Christian comes out and announces that he will be the one that will be challenging it against all odds, and he promised to end the reign of terror because that's how he rolls.
Reign of Terror, a term of phrase copyrighted by MJF. I learnt in my jumping throughs.
No, like actually?
Yeah, he copyrighted the term Reign of Terror.
Oh, for God's sake. By the way, Jarrett's only been champion since November, so of all the reigns, this has been the least terrible. Not terrible, terrible.
It's still terrible.
Jay Lethal got his contract offer because he impressed Jeff Jarrett in their match at this match.
Not because of his sweet match with Samoa Joe.
No, he got in there with Jeff, and Jeff was like, oh, now I'll give him a contract. He didn't get the offer until after the tapings, and contrary to the report in last week's issue, he has not signed as of press time. He hasn't even read the contract as of the weekend, but gave indications he would probably end up signing. He may be stalling to see if WWE will make him a bona fide offer, but they didn't. JB has been pushing him for months after seeing him in Ring of Honor, but others thought he wasn't quite ready when his name first came up. But pretty much the consensus now is they're impressed with him.
How did you feel about Jay Lethal as, like, face of the company ROH guy?
I liked Jay Lethal a lot in, like, X Division era. Like, this year, basically up to when he wins the X title and, like, with the Black Machismo stuff. I really liked him as that because he was, like, a plucky underdog babyface who was really explosive. And I feel like post TNA, he was trying too hard to be, like, some version of, like, Nick Aldis, you know? Like, I am a credible NWA champion style champion who works like Ric Flair style matches that are like slow paced building.
Yeah, he was trying to like bring a certain like workhorse element to the ROH title for a while there.
Yeah, and like it wasn't the kind of like I'm gonna have these really cool matches. It was like there was like a traditionalism to what he was trying to do that I just never vibed with. Like it was too slow, it was too kind of boring, as opposed to like the wrestler. Like you watch this match against Jeff Jarrett and he's really explosive. Like he gets it when he's doing like the springboard dropkick, when he takes the bump on the stroke, he hits the diving headbutt for the near fall. Like you watch this Jay Lethal and you're like, this Jay Lethal's a really exciting pro wrestler. And the guy who ended up like anchoring Ring of Honor was a guy who was like really like, I am working what is very traditionally considered a good wrestling match, and I just found it really boring.
And now he's kind of like halfway in between, because he's not like getting 30-minute main events anymore. He gets like his 20 minutes on TV. I will say I really enjoyed him in the C2, but that could have been because the C2 was just awesome and everyone was great in it.
Yeah, everyone was just having good matches on TV every week. Isn't that fun?
Garrett, tell them about your dream pitch, which I thoroughly agree with.
What, did I just dream that they just had a second full-fledged G1?
Yeah.
It wasn't even like a best of the Super Juniors. It was just like AEW decided to do 2 round-robin tournaments a year with main eventers instead of 1.
Was it a full, like, 8 and 8?
I don't think my dream fleshed it out that much.
Oh, I wanted to see, like... I was going to ask you who was in the blocks.
Because I remember, I think the match in my dream was, like, Samoa Joe against Mox. as like a G1 match, but AEW G1, but it was like June, so it wasn't the C2. And I was like, in my dream, I was like, they're doing another round robin? Really?
They should. That'd be awesome. You know how you differentiate it?
How?
You do 8 and 8.
Yeah.
Bigger stars in it. 15-minute time limits, so it has more draws, but everything's quicker and you can get through stuff more.
You know, good matches instead of long matches.
I mean, come on. It was a 20-minute time limit on all the things. It's perfect.
No, the C2 also had good matches instead of long matches, so thumbs up.
Yeah. Man, the C2 reinvigorated my love of that company.
Yeah, I think it did for a lot of people.
And then it kind of went back down again, and now it's back.
The end of this episode of Impact, Mike Tenay introduces Sting, who still comes out to his Bad Butt Rock song this time. I don't like it.
Yeah, what the hell? Where's the real Sting theme?
Sting does this promo about how he thought the match against Flair in 2001 would be his last match, and then how he's like, I missed the roar of the crowd, I didn't get to go out on my own terms. He talks through his career, talks through the big moments of his career. TNA called him and he turned on the TV and he saw Styles and Joe and Abyss and was like, TNA is my brand. Talks about how Final Resolution was the perfect moment, how he didn't have closure 5 years ago, but now he does. So after Final Resolution went so well, he didn't want to sully that moment. He didn't want to take it down a notch. So Sting left. Sting is retired. He thanks Dixie Carter and the Carter family. He thanks the fans. He doesn't want to taint that moment. So he said goodbye, says thank you, leaves his bat in the ring, and leaves as the crowd chant, please don't go. AJ, Sabin, and Sanjay greet him on the ramp. Christian greets him at the top of the ramp as well. I was like, what the hell, dude? And Christian looks befuddled as Sting walks down the tunnel. So the big angle with Sting is that he's gone.
All of the Christian stuff from this point on, like, skews heelish. And Garrett Kinney may be sitting there like, well, yeah, he turns heel in like 3 months, whatever. But I don't know that. And I just thought it was interesting that it's like, he kind of comes across whiny for the rest of the month.
Yeah, like it doesn't strike me as they're teasing a heel turn, because why would they? He's about to become world champion as a babyface. So like,
that's why I thought it was weird timing. And why I didn't believe the title change on the show.
They do turn him in like July, August. But yeah, he does. It is kind of weird that he's like, what the hell, Sting? You left. And he's on the phone to Sting at points during the month. He's just hanging around with Sting.
And then he's like, I'm not getting the title shot just because Sting left.
Because yeah, that's the whole idea, that like the contract is open because Sting is leaving.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know. I thought he was really like sort of cowardly and heelish throughout the rest of this month.
I did think,
but of course he's facing like the biggest coward of all, so it kind of evens out.
I did think Sting's promo was really good here.
Yeah, it's nice to hear Sting talk. AEW should let him do that.
They don't do it nearly enough. I kind of hate, because it's very funny. Like, WCW Sting was not a promo guy. Like, he very famously, for an entire year, did not talk. He stood in the rafters and pointed at people. Like, he was not known for cutting promos in WCW. Whereas, like, TNA Sting really is a promo guy. He does loads of promos in TNA, and he's really, really, really good. And it's a shame that AEW don't let him talk. I know there was some discourse about Darby Allin's promo on Dynamite, just because of the kind of,
I like
the worked shoot part. I understand the criticisms in that, like, he just murdered you and your friend. Why are you talking about, like, the start of AEW? You should just be like, you murdered me and my friend and we're going to kill you. I kind of get that. But yeah, just get Sting out there to do that promo. To do the, like, you tried to take me out before I could even retire on my own terms, but I'm going to get my revenge at the pay-per-view. To get Sting out there to cut that kind of promo, and he'll fucking rock it.
Well, let's see if they let him do that on Wednesday.
If Sting doesn't talk before that Revolution match, like, that's a booking dereliction of duty. Like, what are you doing? Like, the only reason you do a beatdown, which the beatdown was awesome. Like, it was a great beatdown. But the beatdown is then only as effective as, like, the babyface promo vowing revenge, which is a step people forget all the goddamn time. Like, if you beat down a babyface, the babyface has to do the revenge promo. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. Like, if the babyface doesn't vow to get revenge, like, what's the point of the beatdown? But you gotta send Sting out there next week to cut that big fiery promo, because like the only real promo he's done is the MJF one, isn't it? And that one was great. He was so good there.
He has not been promoing much in this company.
He doesn't talk in AEW either. He just stands around and points, as opposed to, like, this promo was really good in TNA. Like his delivery is great.
I also want to put it out there because it needs to happen, and I need to be on record if it doesn't happen. Sting needs to have the Muda theme medley at his retirement.
They're releasing that EP with the, like, themes through the years next week, and you'd have to imagine that will then form the basis of his last entrance, right?
Yeah, but I want the real songs.
But those are close enough. They can't get the real song.
They could get the Sting one.
They could get
the Sting one, the TNA one.
They should be able to get the TNA one, but...
They can get the TNA one. They got the fucking Metallica one for goddamn Wembley.
But you wouldn't be able to get the couple of the other WCW ones.
You could ask Paul. Maybe he wants some good press right now.
He doesn't need the WWF one or WWE one because that one's bad.
Yeah, but like you can get the WCW one if you ask nicely, probably. And what else do you need? Man Cold Sting.
Because the WCW one, the non-Metallica one, is good. They're like do 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 do. I love that name.
Do, 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 do. Yeah, but like he needs to have that medley. And if you have to replace the ones that you can't get from WCW, fine. But like you need the other ones that you can get.
Yeah, to get the Main Event Mafia team too.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. The Wolf. Oh, he fucking needs the Wolfpack team too as well. Get Jimmy Hart on the phone. WWE don't own the Wolfpack song. Jimmy Hart does. So you can get the Wolfpack song.
I'm sure, like, listen, this dude is the biggest fucking nerd in the world and a big Sting nerd. I'm sure he's had this exact same thought.
He better do it.
So, because also if that does happen, more importantly, that becomes the standard for wrestling retirements. Because if they do it with Muda and they do it with Sting, like that becomes what you just do, and that needs to be what you just do because it's so
cool.
I
went back and watched the Muda one a couple months ago. It's like, it's one of the best things about wrestling last year.
Like you do it with Brian too, and you can even do you can get Flight of the Valkyries. Yeah. Public domain, bitches.
So yeah, the point of this angle, Sting is gone. He's disappeared. He said he's walked away. But then the question throughout the rest of the month, particularly for Eric Young, is has he actually?
Because Eric Young, again, the one guy who can always see what's really going on in this company.
Sting was legitimately concerned with how the live crowd would react to him when he made his pay-per-view return last month. Wrestler said he was very nervous and openly questioned where he fit in on a roster that featured so many cruiserweight high flyers. He was nearly in tears when the crowd reacted favorably, and a wrestler says he was thrilled once he returned to the backstage area with the live crowd's response. So that's kind of charming that like even a guy, the success of Sting is like, will they remember me? Will they care?
He always has those kind of feelings, though. He's a very humble boy.
TNA on January 28th set its ratings record for the debut of Sting, doing a 1.08 rating on 1.26 million viewers. That's not actually a record for the audience. They did 1.28, so slightly more before, but it is a record for the actual rating. The Sting interview itself peaked with a 1.19 and added 17% new viewers over the 15 minutes. The important news here is the rating, unlike the past weeks, was not drawn due to UFC. UFC had a weak Unleashed show when it came to star power beforehand and only did 0.07. So Sting, so shock of all shocks, a television draw.
Yeah. I mean, what did you expect? It's crazy to see these numbers, like just with 2024 wrestling eyes.
Yeah, and for like the history of Impact, 1.26 million viewers is on like the low side.
Yeah, like but like you look at now and you're like, they would kill for this.
Yeah, if AEW did 1.26 million for an episode of Dynamite, Tony Khan would be tweeting non-stop for 3 weeks. For every fourth Impact, Terry Taylor has Larry Zbyszko, and Larry is quite flustered about Sting. He's like, don't worry about it. Stop asking me about Sting disappearing. I did not fuck up Sting.
Please. Stop asking me about Sting. I didn't fuck it up. He will be here again, I promise.
So the big thing on this show is that there is a press conference for Christian Cage and Jeff Jarrett for the NWA World Title match. Larry says that the Championship Committee has taken precautions to ensure that there is a fair winner. They roll out Dory Funk Jr. to put over the history and the legacy of the NWA title. Jarrett starts talking and naturally gets in his I brought TNA to Hulk Hogan line.
Which is so funny.
He gets it in no matter what.
He's like really hedging his career on that moment.
Well, because in WCW he never got one over on Hogan, whereas that's like the one time he sort of kind of got one over on Hogan, even though when you think about it, Hogan got one over on them because they shot the angle and never did the match. But still, he got the footage of him hitting Hogan with a guitar, so he wins.
Yeah, he bludgeoned him. It's like a very visceral shot. I understand, like, you know, using it, but it's almost become to the point of parody, though, which I do appreciate.
Every time there's a video package about the history of TNA, it's in there at the moment, so.
Yeah.
Somebody asked Jarrett about Jackie Gator, and he shouted them down. Monty interrupted, demanding the next shot. Abyss and Mitchell were watching from the back of the room. Christian and Jarrett did a pull apart as Larry desperately seemed like, Guys! Guys,
please stop ruining my show.
I really enjoy Larry Zbyszko. He's so good.
He's actually a very good GM style character.
Then end of the show, Planet Jarrett are talking to Alex Shelley. They want him to get dirt on Jackie Gaeta, and he's like, if you don't get the job done, don't come back, to which Shelley responds, stern ultimatum, but don't worry.
Stern ultimatum.
That segment ends with Eric Young, very paranoid, gets the camera, looks down the lens and says, Sting's not gone. So that's the conspiracy theory.
Eric is very scared. We're really getting the beginnings of the true Eric Young ethos.
Yeah, because he's been jumpy for the last while, you know, ever since they got on Spike, he's kind of started to be like Eric Young, the character, where he's like paranoid and he's not confident and he's scared of the pyro. And now he's like full on like, Sting's not gone, Sting's not gone.
I really loved at the pay-per-view. We'll just jump for a second when like Jarrett's first arriving and he's actually like treating Eric Young with like a level of weird respect. He's like, come on, buddy, what did you see?
He's like his dopey brother. He's like, come on, pal. Everything's gonna be fine. We're doing great. We don't need to worry about Sting. It's okay.
Eric is Jeff is like genuinely nice to the people in his like bad group of people.
He's a good leader.
Like he would, yeah, yes. In story, he is.
February 11th Impact Go Home show. There's just a couple of features on the show. There's a feature looking at Christian ahead of the pay-per-view main event, and then a feature on the Jarrett Christian match. And then the show ends with Christian walking out of TNA management's locker room. He's talking to Sting and says the referee situation is under control and promises to become world champion against all odds. So, not like the best build to Jarrett and Christian.
They're kind of playing off things that have already happened. Like they probably don't feel like they need to do a lot of build for it because these two have been like feuding really for 3 months.
Yeah, and like I guess the idea is like Christian is like the audience buys Christian as like a babyface challenger to Jarrett. It's not like you have to convince them that this is a guy who can beat Jarrett or really make them care. You don't have to be worried that the audience won't care about Christian. You know, you don't have to do a ton of build to be like, oh no, what if they don't care? Like they will. People like Christian. They'll cheer for Christian. They'll be happy for Christian to win.
And like it's not like this is going to be a blood feud either.
So it is more the classic, I just want to take your title. It is, a lot of it's about Sting more than Christian, but listen. Against All Odds opens with Christian arriving at the building in a regular car, then Jarrett arrives with in a Jeep.
I love like, oh, Christian, the everyman.
Yeah, with his normal car as opposed to Jarrett in his big Jeep. So as he said, this is a segment where Eric Young is like, once again reinforcing Sting isn't gone, Sting isn't gone. I love Scott D'Amore here. He's like, stop it. I told you, not tonight. You don't do this tonight, sir. And like, there's a moment where Eric Young and Jarrett are talking, and Scott is behind Jarrett being like, no, stop it, no, stop it.
Yeah, he's like doing like the wrap it up.
Yeah, don't you dare talk. But then Jarrett reassures EY and makes him repeat Sting is gone over and over again.
And then I think doesn't it end with like Eric Young being like,
Yeah, he's not reassured. He is still scared of Sting.
Wouldn't we all be?
So there's a show running thing where for all the backstage segments with Planet Jarrett, with Rhino, with people like that, Larry walks in and reinforces that there will be no outside interference in the main event except for Gil Kim. But other than Gil Kim, there is no outside interference. No one is allowed to interfere.
She's the only one who's allowed to be there.
She has a manager's license.
She is, yeah.
But
unlike Scott D'Amore.
Then there's also a backstage segment where Slick Johnson walks up to Larry Zbyszko and JB and he's like, I noticed there is no referee assigned to the main event. Is that an oversight, Larry Zbyszko? I've refereed 85 WCW main events. I have the credentials. Whereas Larry's like, no, we have a referee, and if I wanted you to know, you'd know. Go away.
I like that. Like Larry should be like, oh yes, 85 WCW main events. I'm sure they all went really well.
There was not at all ref bumps and controversy in all of them. JB has Jarrett and Gale, usual Jarrett promo, before Jarrett gives out about Monty doing his usual Monty promo. Jarrett does promise that Monty will get the next shot after he beats Christian, though. And then right before the main event, JB... By the way, JB doing backstage interviews now, which is more like traditionally TNA. People remember JB as the backstage interview guy, because...
We're slowly getting more and more TNA.
This is also the show where Dave Penzer starts as the ring announcer. So JB has moved backstage. Dave Penzer's doing the ring announcing now.
I always liked JB as a ring announcer, though.
Yeah, I did too.
Except when he fucked it up all the time.
Yeah, but that was part of his charm in the Asylum days, when he'd say reigning and defending for every title match that's not a title match. But yeah, Christian does the big babyface promo beforehand, being like, I've worked toward everything for this. You know, people wonder whether I'm a mid-card comedy act. Well, can I rise above it? This is my chance to prove it, because that's how he rolls. And then the main event for the NWA World Championship. It is Christian Cage defeating the King of the Mountain, Jeff Jarrett, to become the new champion.
I still don't believe it.
Why don't you believe it?
I don't know. I never thought, I guess, I just never put two and two together. Like, that this is where the first title run happens.
There was, PW Torch said it was a mild surprise, which it does kind of interest me, because, like, obviously I wasn't watching TNA at the time, so I don't know what the pulse was of whether or not people thought Christian would win. But it does seem like people thought Jarrett would retain and maybe Christian would chase him a little longer, as opposed to Christian just coming in and beating him in their first match.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it. So, just goes to show.
Whereas, I think, no one wants a prolonged chase here. It's like, people are sick of Jarrett. People like Christian. It was the right choice to just go with Christian.
Yeah, but the thing is, just because it's the right choice doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's this company, so they're going to get heat for 6 months before Christian wins it when nobody cares.
And also, I did think that this was a pretty good, Jeff Jarrett main event, too. I mean, in that it was a 3-star match.
Yeah, he's had worse.
Which means it was a good match.
I thought the Rhino match was better on pay-per-view.
Yeah, I don't know. This was my kind of good shticky stuff.
I didn't mind when they got down to that's part of my problem at this stage, I do think. Whereas I'm now at the point after 3 years of watching Jarrett, I can't deal with this bullshit anymore. Or no, the opposite, I guess.
Yeah.
I can't deal with him pretending to be a normal wrestler, and I'm just just get to the bullshit. I'm fine with the bullshit at this point. I don't want to watch you try to be a normal wrestler for 65% of a match, and then you kick into the bullshit. Just get straight to the bullshit.
Embrace it. Acknowledge that this is the kind of wrestler you are.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's kind of similar to that Jay Lethal thing. Where he's cosplaying a different kind of champion that he thinks he needs to be when he should just be embracing what he is.
Yeah, and I've just watched too much of him at this stage to be I can invest in the idea of him doing a straight match, because that's not what it's going to be. So just get to the thing it's going to be. Yeah, it was decent. It's not a bad match. It's just I'm tired of Jeff. I'm just so tired of Jeff.
Fair enough.
Larry Z comes out with Dave Hebner, and the referee for this contest, Earl Hebner.
My God. And at this point, I was like, Jeff Jarrett's winning.
Mike Tenay does immediately reference Montreal.
And I was like, they're putting it in our heads early. They're going to do it.
They did.
Again.
Of course, for some reason, they did a spot where Jarrett got Christian in a sharpshooter, and then Earl, feigned to start calling for the bell, and Christian, grabbed his ankle and begged him not to. And I have no idea why we're doing that in this Christian Jarrett match.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
What are we doing Montreal spots for in this match?
I mean, because they still think it's, fun, and, remember?
It's cool and edgy. It's what? No, stop it. Christian did have some nice white and gold gear. His I'm winning a world title gear.
I liked it. I mean, I don't know. Jarrett and Christian are, this weird, mirror of each other. Where it's one's if you take the dark path, and one's if you take the righteous path.
But Christian's a much better heel than Jarrett as well, though.
I didn't mean, in that sense. Just career.
Oh, just in terms of just general?
Yeah.
Christian's you're a kind of upper mid-card goof, but you do it the right way, and Jarrett's you're an upper card, mid-card goof, but you do it the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly. One guy did it right, one guy did it wrong.
Christian misses a crossbody off the top of the floor, hits the rail, which allows Jarrett to get the heat. They do multiple ref bumps. Jarrett slid through Christian's legs and took out Earl Hebner's ankle for the ref bump. This allowed Gale to distract Christian, allowing Jarrett to hit a top rope stroke, but Christian kicked out. Jarrett then whips Christian into Hebner, which causing another ref bump. Christian hidden unprettier, but Slick Johnson runs out. Jarrett kicks out. Johnson saw Jarrett low blow Christian. He was going to DQ Jarrett. It wasn't a thing that was reinforced, and I think it's a thing that does need to be reinforced, but title changes hands on a DQ. So the idea that Jarrett doesn't want Slick Johnson to DQ him is right for TNA, because he would lose the title. The commentary didn't reinforce that, but it's a thing that's so niche in TNA storytelling in terms of titles change hands onto DQ that I do think they have to bring it up. For the most part, the heel would be fine with getting disqualified in that instance, but title changes hands, so he can't get disqualified.
Exactly.
Jarrett took out Slick. Christian tries to unprettier Gale, but Jarrett hits him with a guitar. Christian kicks out. Gale went to ran at Christian, but he powerbombed her. Christian unprettier for the win. Crowd rushed the ring, hold Christian aloft as the new NWA World Champion.
It's a great visual to have, big babyface win and the crowd come to him.
Yeah, they, fill the ring as well. That ring is full to the brim of people.
Yeah, it's scarily so. My favorite guy was like, even when it was like completely full, there was one guy like Matt Hardying the ropes on the outside, and I was like, you're gonna die.
Those people more than likely did not sign waivers either. So if those people did die, there's a lawsuit in there.
Yeah, the ring just like buckles. Well, didn't that happen once?
That the ring collapsed under a fan running?
Yeah, with like a ton of fans were in it, and the ring like just collapsed.
I don't remember, but that does. I have like a vague memory of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like ECW. Yeah, it was the Gangsters versus Public Enemy. Let me see if I can find them. I have like it's just everyone's in the fucking ring and it just starts to like tumble over to the side.
ECW rings is very trustworthy as well to do something like that in.
Yeah. Shout outs to the one guy who like jumped off just a second before it all collapsed.
That motion was actually what caused it to collapse.
If they had kept the momentum, it would have been fine.
Yeah, it was actually perfectly evenly distributed until he got out of there and suddenly everything started tipping over. The TNA ring's clearly sturdier because it did hold up to being full of people.
Much to Jeremy Borash's relief.
Yeah, so it was JB who came up with the idea to allow the fans to rush the ring to celebrate with Christian. Dixie Carter joked that if the ring broke from the weight of fans, the expense came out of his paycheck. So JB is happy it all went well. But yeah, Christian is your new NWA World Champion, so we'll get a babyface title run.
It's certainly better than Jeff Jarrett being that champion.
We have not had a Actually, no, we had Raven. We had Raven during the summer. I was going to say we haven't had a meaningful babyface title run since like 2003. Actually, no, even longer because AJ was a heel. God, we've had very few babyface title runs in the history of this company.
Yeah, because it's all been Jarrett.
But like even like AJ was a heel for the first two. No, the second one he was a babyface. So the second two only lasted like a combined 6 weeks. So
yeah.
But AJ's first run where he was champ for a few months, but he was also a heel. So and Ron was a heel. God damn it! Yes. Everyone's a heel in this company.
Yeah, because that's all they know is like heel champion, babyface chase.
Yeah, of the like going on 4 years of this company so far, I'm pretty sure like a cumulative 5 months of it maybe have had a babyface champion.
Yeah,
6 maybe, but not much.
It's wild. Like a babyface champion is harder to book, but like not that much harder.
Yeah, it's not that. Don't do it that often. Plus, you gotta give fans hope. You can't just have that much heat. No one cares.
Yeah, especially with Jarrett.
Oh, definitely with Jarrett.
Gar, gar, gar.
That takes us over to Abyss and Rhino as the other major heavyweight program of the month, coming off the back of their final resolution match. Abyss brawls with Rhino at the end of the first Impact of the month. We talked about that in the segment where they're all looking at that contract, and there's some Abyss and Rhino brawling.
It's kind of a wild one, this build.
Yeah, the whole idea is like these are two monsters that are out of control. They can't be contained.
They can't be pinfall counted somewhere. They have to be counted anyway.
Yeah, so that is reinforced on the January 28th Impact, in which Abyss faces Rhino once again. Dave Hebner watches on but does not do anything. Especially because like Abyss is wailing on Rhino with the chair at some point, which does not draw a DQ. But then they brawl to the back, they brawl backstage, they set up in front of the back side of the interview set, and then Rhino gores Abyss through it.
It's awesome.
It's a great spot. They even, like, I love how they set up a camera on the other side, but it makes sense why there is a camera on the other side.
Because that's what they interview people.
Yeah, because Shane Douglas is there. And if you actually watch Shane Douglas, he does actually have to, like, scurry out of the way. He really gets taken down by the interview set.
It's awesome. It looks
great. It's this big, like, metal sheet, and it crumbles down as Abyss and Rhino go through. The match is declared a no contest. It's a cool-looking spot, and I do love the shot from the other side of the wall as you see them come through. That looks great as well.
It was on the 50 Best TNA Moments DVD that I had growing up. And
a thing I did appreciate, and it's a thing that I think AEW don't do enough of, but like the next 2 episodes of Impact, they replayed this. Like, this is a cool spot, a cool moment. Like, Rhino has a match against Kenny King on the February 4th episode. As he's doing his entrance, they replay it there. And then there's the main event of the Go Home show has Abyss and Rhino in it, and they replay it again there. So it's like they're driving home this as a cool moment, as opposed to just letting it, like, sit in one week and then disappear.
Yeah, they do that sometimes. They should probably do it more, though.
They do, like, reinforce, Takeshita beat Kenny Omega twice in a week. They do say that every week. So they do it sometimes, but it might also because Takeshita has done literally nothing since he beat Kenny Omega 2 times in a row, but that's neither here nor there.
He beat Darby.
That was a good match.
And he beat Jericho.
That was a less good match.
He's done some things.
Yeah, February 4th, Impact, Rhino versus Kenny King, foreshadowing the 2022 Impact versus Honor No More feud.
Oh god, thanks for
You
that.
can look forward to these two facing off again in a 10-man tag in the main event of No Surrender 2022.
I will look forward to that occurrence.
After like a month of them going back and forward between Man Beast and War Machine, it does appear they have firmly settled on War Machine. He's now introduced as the War Machine Rhino.
Cause I'm a war machine. Taz is pissed.
He just squashes Kenny King with a gore here. And then main event of the Go Home show is once again Monty Brown and Abyss facing Ron Killings and Rhino in the match. In a very important moment in wrestling history, Liam, that featured the debut of Ron Killings' What's Up theme song.
We posted this to Twitter, and it was very interesting to see how many people did not know that this song originated in TNA.
I was thinking about that as like Ron Killings as like a TNA guy is almost forgotten in general. Like people like think of AJ as a TNA guy, or even like Joe as a TNA guy. People don't really think of Ron as a TNA guy.
He just wasn't there during a time period where like a lot of younger fans even watched. Ironically, more people watched than ever, but like also like his biggest stuff was like in Asylum era stuff too. So it's like not in a particularly well thought of period.
And you could also say he was also in the WWF beforehand. He was K-Quick in the WWF beforehand, so he was a WWE guy before he was a TNA
but like
guy.
no one knows him as fucking K-Quick.
No one remembers Getting Rowdy.
No,
Ron was in a Rumble at that point, wasn't he? He was in one of those Rumbles in like 2000, I think.
Get Rowdy. Oh, you didn't know?
A terrible tag team. The foreshadowing of Three Life Crew, but a terrible tag team.
That they did for 10 years in TNA.
Yes. I like this main event. It was like a star-driven main event, nothing special, but these guys can hit like cool moves in a tag team main that goes 8 minutes. Truth, it's a great dive.
They can, but they didn't, besides the dive.
Yeah, it was a fantastic dive, and Mike Tenay started shouting. It's like, we have to go to break now, which is the favorite thing Mike Tenay does. I really enjoy it.
You love these kind of, like, just throw some main eventers in a tag
It's my
match.
favorite thing, Liam.
It is your bread and
Yeah,
butter.
you have like 4 pay-per-view matches you want to promote in the Go Home show. You book yourself an 8-man tag, and I will fucking love it.
Yeah. In my TEW, my go-to lately has been, like, World Title and Challenger versus, and, like, paired together with the tag champs and tag challenges.
Can't go wrong with it.
No.
Rhino and Abyss brawl out of the building. Conan distracts Ron, allowing Monty to hit the pants for the win. We will naturally get the Trio K family drama in a little bit.
Of course, in its constant stationary spot.
Closing our show. Pay-per-view, Rhino defeated Abyss in a Falls Count Anywhere match, which was much better than their match last month.
Yes.
You thought about that.
I did just because, like, I was trying to, like, remember the differences. But, like, no, yeah, they got to do way cooler stuff, and Rhino dies a bunch in this, and, like, and because, also, it didn't help that the first pay-per-view match was, like, disappointing. Whereas this one was like, you know, I'm not sure I was like hooting and hollering, you know, 4.5 match of the year thing, but like, you know, they had a better match that was more fun and did some crazier stuff, and it was fun to see Rhino like just charging around through the fucking fans.
Yeah, because this is like full plunder, like full Falls Count Anywhere, as opposed to the last match, which had some plunder because Abyss's matches always do, but it was a quote-unquote straight wrestling match for the most part. Whereas here, like, Rhino's bleeding, they're running all over the crowd, they're falling through tables left, right, and center. There's gores through tables. They go backstage at one point, and there's a spot where I think they're meant to break a car window with a baseball bat. So Rhino tried, he hit the car, the window didn't break. Abyss tried, he hit the car, the window didn't break, and they just moved on. And that was like the only spot they did backstage. They brawled backstage to that car to do that, but like what I presume would have been at least a somewhat visually appealing baseball bat breaking a window spot, but it didn't work, so they just brawled back into the building.
Yeah. It's funny when, like, you know, companies that don't have a shit ton of money for these kind of things do this stuff, because they get the shittiest looking car possible, or like something that just doesn't look as like WWE can do it. They have all the money in the world, right? They can get any car for a spot like this. But it's just funny when like a TNA does it. They're like, who's got some like beater that we can get for $300?
Yeah, when Braun Strowman is flipping a truck, he is flipping a truck. Whereas where TNA are doing this, you are right. It is like the smallest, like shittiest 15-year-old car that they could find that's probably been stripped for parts and has nothing but a window on a door and a frame.
Doesn't run.
It's just still there to this day, sitting in the Universal backlot.
They call it the Abyss and Rhino car. Everyone has to pay respect as they walk in.
It's like a sword in the stone situation. Everyone walks up, they grab the bat, and they try to break the window, but fail. And one day, the true ruler of the Empire will break that window, and they will be anointed so.
That would be awesome.
There was also some like wacky floats backstage that I was hoping they would brawl onto, but they mostly ignored them.
They can't afford that.
And Universal would probably get mad.
They would definitely get mad. And deservedly so. But also, it would have been cool.
The highlight of the match was the finish. So they brawl up into the stands. They're like up into like the 10th or 15th row or whatever. And there's like a little section where they could brawl in front of a section of fans. Abyss kicks out the wall at the end of that section and hits Rhino in the head with it, which is very funny.
It's, what do they call it in like games where we can just pick up objects in the middle of like fight strings?
I don't know. Is there a word for it?
Just like interactive, like, objects in the environment. It's like that.
Yeah, so he hits him with the wall, but then Rhino gores him out of the stands to tables that are sitting like 5-10 feet below. It's a 4-stack, so you would think it would break his fall, but it kind of doesn't. He goes flying down, he smashes through the tables. By all accounts, he actually lost consciousness for a while when he hit the floor, so...
Jesus.
You can see, like, if you watch the replay, it's an awesome looking spot because he's gored out of the stands through some tables on the floor below. It looks great, but you can see that like he goes down fast through those tables. It's like, ooh, that was not a pleasant landing.
Never is.
It's the classic because like after the match, Rhino gets down and pins him, so Rhino wins. And then like they go back to Abyss, and it's like just like Barbed Wire Massacre, where he's getting like a standing ovation as he's being helped out by security. It's like that is the like Abyss has been babyfaced by just getting his ass kicked better than anybody in this company.
They call this the Mick Foley.
Yeah, it was like people always called it the Benoit as well. The like sad like look to the audience for your standing ovation after you've lost thing. Benoit always did that. But yeah, Abyss is just getting owned in sensational fashion, and then they're getting standing ovations for it.
It is the story of Abyss at the moment. It's like beat each other up for 4 weeks on TV, go to the pay per view, lose. Unless it's Sabu, then you can win.
Yeah, good match. Much better match than last month. It's not like it wasn't up there with like the best of the Sabu matches in terms of just like sheer chaos and nonsense, but it was a very enjoyable plunder brawl on a show that didn't actually have any other plunder, so it helps that stand out as well.
Yeah.
That takes us over to the X Division, where after 5 months, we finally gotten ourselves back to a Styles Daniels Joe rematch.
I didn't even know that they went back to this well so quickly.
Yeah, they do 2 more matches in 2006. 2 more televised matches, anyway. They do another next month. They're not as good as the first, or even the Turning Point 2009 match. I think both those matches stand head and shoulders above the 2006 matches, but you'll never turn your nose up at a Styles Daniels Joe match. Like, if you look at the pay-per-view lineup and you're like, Styles Daniels Joe, you're like, you know what, fair enough. Okay.
It does sort of speak to a certain unwillingness or non-ability to elevate anyone else in the X Division right now.
It's actually funny, when you watch the 4-way on the pay-per-view, which is Jay Lethal, Matt Bentley, Alex Shelley, and P.D. Williams, there is actually, Mike Tenay actually kind of talks about that. It's like, there's been a real log jam at the top of the X Division with Styles Daniels Joe. These guys really can't get past that.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's true, and, like, no one else in the X Division right now feels on that level either. I guess, like, your closest would be, like, Sabin.
Yeah, I was going to say, so much so that, like, your tag challengers of the month are Sabin and Sanjay. They have to move over to the tag division to get something to do.
Yeah, which, honestly, it's probably better.
But yeah, and, like, it's not like they're telling a story with Styles Daniels Joe, so I'm fine with them being on top of the X Division, but you are right that there's not a lot going on underneath them at the moment. There's a lot of guys just kind of hovering about with not a lot to do.
And just no one else feels on their level either. That's, like, the other problem is, like, again, like, Saban's probably the next guy up, and he feels like a significant step down from those 3.
It is, like, a weird con of the fact that, like, they have elevated the X title to the point that, like, the 3 guys wrestling for it feel like meaningful stars in the company, as opposed to, like, the Michael Shane days. But then the downside of that is when you get past those 3 guys, there is like this gulf until you get to, as you said, like Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, I guess, as like the next tier of guys who are lower mid-card guys. They're nowhere near Styles Daniels Joe.
Yeah.
So first impact of the month, franchise has AJ. Styles mentions that he's wrestling a Samoa Joe against all odds for the X Division title, but he also has Shannon Moore in a street fight tonight. If you remember, the finish of Final Resolution was Joe was wailing on Daniels' concussed skull so much that AJ threw in the towel. So Daniels walks in, he's like, "Don't you find it very convenient that you threw in the towel for me at the pay-per-view, and then suddenly you're number 1 contender? Isn't that funny? Don't you find that funny, AJ?"
AJ's like, "Come on, man, if you already would have died, and we'll think about your family,
You have
man.
no brain.
You have no brain,
Brain
man.
gone.
And then Daniels is like,
Daniels is suspicious of AJ's motives.
I like this because like they're both faces, but they both still kind of have points.
Yeah, they're both right. Like AJ is right in that he was getting murdered and he would have died, and Daniels is right in that like he's like the never say die babyface who's like, it wasn't your right to quit on my behalf. You did not have that right. And I like Daniels is obviously a little bit in denial as a character. He's like, I could still come back and win. I wasn't out.
But like, he doesn't come across like heelish in that. Like, he doesn't feel whiny, which is like it's a hard balance to strike.
It feels like a nuanced story, which thumbs up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it does lead us to a Shannon Moore AJ Styles street fight on this show.
Yeah.
The highlight of which is the match graphic says Styles versus Punk.
Which is, good for meme content.
For the Prince of Punk, if you're wondering. But yeah, it's like street fight, Styles versus Punk. It's like, whoa, that's a big man.
Wow, we're watching a Ring of Honor show?
Daniels is on commentary. He's talking with Mike Tenay and Don West, who, like, as the babyface announcers, they're like, AJ was right to do what he did, and Daniels is like, it wasn't his decision to make. Moore brainbusters AJ on the apron. AJ does a little dive out of the stands. It's not very impressive. Moore looks to Pillmanize the knee with a chair, but Styles just lifts his foot up, so Moore just jumps on the top of the chair and hurts himself. Joe watches on from the ramp. Daniels jumps on the apron to throw in a towel when AJ's in a submission. AJ's like, what the hell, man? The ref doesn't stop the match, but the distraction does allow Moore to roll up AJ for the win. So Shannon Moore scores a victory over AJ Styles. Even if it is to advance the story with Daniels, with the towel, like him feigning to throw the towel in to distract AJ. But Shannon Moore pins AJ Styles. And like, AJ is a protected act in this company. Not a lot of people beat AJ.
I don't have like a major problem with it. I don't love it, but also I'm like, it's telling us a story, It's not just like AJ randomly losing on TV. There's a reason behind it, but like, I don't know. I am fine with it. If not, maybe it's just a lack of dislike more than I like it,
I think it's more a problem with just Shannon Moore. I just hate Shannon Moore.
Well, yeah, Shannon Moore's annoying. So.
It goes to what we were just talking about. Like, could you not have stuck Alex Shelley there, or Petey Williams there, or like one of the guys who might benefit from actually beating AJ, as opposed to this non-contracted guy who's going to be gone in a month? And it doesn't help that he's literally gone in a month. But yeah. But yeah, the story is that Daniels is looking to throw on the towel and be like, see how it feels.
Which does kind of make him like a heelish dick.
There was a lot of backstage heat, not just with me. There has been a lot of heat among wrestlers over Shannon Moore's push, with the feeling that he did nothing to warrant a push, let alone pinning AJ Styles, albeit with a Christopher Daniels distraction. The heat got worse because everyone in the locker room believes the reason Moore got a big push without first proving himself was due to Jarrett, and that Moore's girlfriend is the well-known wrestling seamstress and I assume that's still her name, Julie I suppose she might have mattered.
No, because she was married to Droz.
Okay, yes, and former Julie Droz. Okay, that makes more sense. Who makes Jeff's wrestling outfits? So like, people think Shannon Moore is getting pushed because his wife makes Jeff's gear.
Which he may as well be.
He might well be, you're not wrong. January 28th Impact, there was a feature on Styles, Daniels, Joe, now officially announcing that it will be a three-way at the pay-per-view rather than Styles and Joe. Daniels has wormed his way into the match via shenanigan.
Via pissing AJ off, I guess.
There's a backstage segment that sets it up, but Matt Bentley is asking for opportunities, and Jerry Lynn is like, you got an opportunity right now, you didn't look at the board, you have a great opportunity, you have a match up next. And then Matt Bentley is like, hell yeah, what's my opportunity? He goes out to the ring, Samoa Joe's music hits, he's wrestling Samoa Joe.
It's a good bit.
He's like, finally getting my opportunity, and listen, you should be happy, he's wrestling the X-Champ.
Yeah, if he wins, he could get added to that three-way.
Yeah, so Generation Next were also moaning, and Jerry Lynn is like, I'm sick of all you moaning.
And they're like, give us something, please.
Mike Tenay and Don West debate whether or not it's the Bentley bounce or the Tracy bounce.
Well, that's not alliterative.
It's also like, it's meant to be a bit that it's like, you're meant to be like, oh, it's the Bentley bounce. Well, obviously it's actually Tracy. But they're like, but it's Tracy. It's like, you're ruining the bit.
You're explaining the bit.
Bentley more or less gets squashed. Dave Hebner's watching on from the crowd. Jerry Lynn and Generation Next are also watching on. Good finish where at one point Matt Bentley went for like a wheelbarrow into, I think it was an arm drag. And he went for it again, and Joe just transitioned it into the coquina clutch and choked him out to beat him. So that was a good little finish. Match was nothing special.
Indubitably.
February 4th, Impact. AJ Styles faces Jay Lethal.
Fun little combo to see.
Joe watching on from the ramp, which is his favorite thing. He has a new towel as well as his bloody one. So he's like, ooh, more blood?
He's like, more blood for the blood god. Who do I go after next to satiate my vicious intentions?
He just needs blood all the time. Yeah, nice little match. AJ takes a wild bump off a leg lariat because he's just a strange, crazy man who flips inside out on leg lariats. But double underhook into the Styles Clash, which I always appreciated. Like, the Styles Clash is the kind of move that on paper should be really rigid. Like, there shouldn't be, like, it should be, have like a single setup that you have to get into that makes it like kind of awkward as a finish. But AJ, because he's like super creative, finds like 7 different ways to get the Styles Clashes that feel like somewhat organic and makes the move make sense.
Which is like hard for such a complicated
Yeah,
move.
it should be a move that like you can only get into one way.
I mean, it's like it's not the RKO, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it's not just something you can do.
Whereas here he's like double underhook, catch him, Styles Clash. It's like, yeah, you're a good wrestler. Well done. And
Congrats.
stares down Samoa Joe as they continue building to their X Division title match. They show a package on the show of TNA Down Under. They're in Australia.
Down under. At WSW, which still runs to this day and still has TNA people
Yeah,
on it.
because they ran some shows in like 2005 and then disappeared for like 15 years and then came back and still have a bunch of TNA people on their shows. So yeah, the Styles and Daniels, who think they did wrestle each other a bunch on the tour, but also on one of the shows there was a mixed tag where Daniels teamed with Nydia and Styles teamed with Gail Kim.
Awesome.
The dream mixed tag match that you would go to a show for.
WSW is wild.
It's
a wild.
Very funny company. I appreciate it for what it is. You were doing like a live watch along of it on one of our episodes, like a few episodes back.
Oh yeah, that was when like QTV woman just showed up, and I was like, she wrestles.
She's in like a team with Saraya now, isn't she? She's doing a thing.
Yeah, she's like a crazy girl, and she has knives. They did the like. You call that a knife? No, that's a spoon.
That's a Simpsons joke. I get it.
They did the Simpsons joke on Rampage.
I see you played Knifey Spoon before. Styles and Daniels sniped at each other backstage before they needed to be separated because they're very mad at each other.
They sniped at each other, which is only possible if the Earth is completely flat, because the curvature of...
Go home show. Samoa Joe faces in a 3-way match Jay Lethal and Chase and Rance.
Yeah. You wanna... You take
The highlight of the match is Samoa Joe slapping the shit out of Chase and Rance.
It's like, why is he in this?
He's just a Florida indie guy who needs to lose.
But like, Jay Lethal's there.
If anything, there is a little bit of respect for Lethal that they probably were like, we can't just beat Lethal again, so we'll throw somebody else in there to take the pin.
Yeah, but you could have like shown the story of like, it goes longer because Lethal is more experienced now. Could have told.
Lethal wins the 4-way on the pay-per-view, so clearly they're like...
Yeah, but I'm still saying that story still can end with that.
Either way, Joe kills him.
You don't lose anything by losing to Joe.
I don't know. He should beat Joe right here.
That'd be awesome.
And Joe's winning streak, Jay Lethal mega push.
Well, that would certainly get someone else through the logjam.
Only because he wrestled Jeff Jarrett as well. Like, that's the only thing that would have gotten it. Not being good or...
And he starts making Jeff's gear.
It's the shortcut to success in the business. Pay-per-view. Styles, Daniels, Joe 2 for the X Division title.
It's not as good, is it?
It's not. It's like, listen, it's still very good. It's still a Styles, Daniels, Joe match. It's not like best match ever level. And it does have to live up to best match ever level, which is what people considered the first match, as Dave calls the 9/11 match. God damn it, Dave. But it's very good. It's a very good match. It's like, if it was the first match in their series, you'd be like, hell yeah, I'd like to see more. But the fact that it's the second and not as good as the first does take like the wind out of the sails of this one a little bit. But it's very good.
Yeah, I'm not going to say no to it. Although, I would enjoy seeing someone else in this sort of scene with these people at some
You
point.
will have one more month of it, but then Styles and Daniels are out of the X Division, so...
Always good for the X Division.
Into the tag division. But yeah, like, there's a lot more people landing on their heads in this match, if you're into that.
I am into that.
Because there's a moment where Styles does a discus lariat into, like, while Joe has a back suplex as, like, almost a tag team move, and Daniels just lands right in his fucking goddamn head. Like, right in his head.
Yeah.
Daniels does a DVD on Joe where Joe more or less lands right in his head as well. So, fun stuff. There is also, like, a front suplex at the start of this match that just made me fucking cackle. Like, Joe lifts him up and slams AJ face first, and then just spends, like, 15 seconds just looking at AJ afterwards. It's like, you are the best wrestler that has ever existed. There's never been a better wrestler than you.
There's a weird moment of admiration in the middle of the ring from a fellow worker.
So happy with his handiwork of mauling AJ. So I'm just gonna look at it for a little bit.
which is a good bit.
Yeah, and AJ, of course, takes every move like he's dying. So Joe wipes out both with an elbow suicida. There is a bunch of fun stuff where they are doing like plays on spots from the first match. So like where the first match had the monkey flip in the corner where Daniels monkey flip Styles into a Rana on Joe, but Joe countered it this time. So like there's a lot of that stuff where there's match to match storytelling. So it's not just like them trying to replay the hits.
Yeah, because they're all a bunch of indie geeks.
Yeah, so they're doing variations on the theme. Daniels did sprain his neck in this match apparently, which I can't imagine what moment did that.
Yeah, I wonder if what point in which his neck was injured.
Joe beats AJ with the Muscle Buster, so Joe is still your X Division champion. As I said, like it doesn't live in the pantheon of like the two like truly great Styles Daniels Joe matches, which are Unbreakable 2005 and Turning Point 2009. Though actually, if you've never seen the Hardcore War 2006 house show match, that match is also kind of awesome. But these two pay-per-view matches, we'll get an Ultimate X between the three next month. The spoilers, but they don't quite hit the heights of the other matches do.
At least Ultimate X isn't just doing the same thing.
And listen, like I gave it 3.75, you gave it 4. So like we're talking as if it's like it's a 2.25 star match. It's still a very good wrestling match.
No, it's still awesome. But like the X Division stuff is held to a high standard at this point.
There is also a 4-way on this show from a bunch of people who are around. So Jay Lethal, Alex Shelley, P.D. Williams, Matt Bentley. Crowd are Bentley bouncing. They're having themselves a good time. They're very into the Bentley bounce at the moment. The Bentley bounce is like well and truly a thing.
Peaked. It's peaking.
We are in peak Bentley bounce.
It will not last forever.
This match, of course, was mainly for Jackie Gata to show up and shout at Alex Shelley for filming her.
In precarious position.
Yeah, because we didn't mention it on the pay-per-view, but Scott does mention that he has the Jackie Gata tape and that he won't believe what's on it, and they are going to reveal what's on it on Impact the following week, so we'll talk about that on next month's episode. But Alex Shelley's like, she's real freaky.
Seems illegal.
Yeah, I think Alex Shelley should go to jail.
And then he becomes his whole thing?
Yeah, it is the first of it actually being Paparazzi Productions, because the idea is Gail and Jarrett approach Shelley to start filming the Jackie Gata stuff for him.
He would have thought that, like, the gimmick of, I film my matches so I can study better, would turn into, like, paid detective sleuth by the heels.
I love the idea that he's the only person in this company that owns a camera.
No, he's just the only one who can frame the shots now.
He's just like, they're looking around, it's like, Monty doesn't have a camera, the Naturals don't have a camera, BG James couldn't operate a camera to save his life. Shelley, that guy has a camera. Can he film stuff?
He uses it on TV already.
He knows cinematography. I did like how like PD and Shelley kind of work together because they are like kind of stable aligned, where PD is an actual member of Planet Jarrett and Shelley is kind of helping out Planet Jarrett at the moment. But also they don't get along, so they're always like mistrusting each other and constantly second guessing each other. So I think that was a fun little dynamic in this.
Well, they're not both in Planet Jarrett. Shelley just did like freelance work.
He is in the orbit of Planet Jarrett, some might say.
He's on a moon, a small moon.
What's the name of the Alex Shelley moon?
God, I can't think of anything. It has to be a pun, and I can't think of a pun.
I'm just gonna leave you sit here until you, as revenge for losing the draft. I'm just gonna leave you sit here. I'm not gonna throw you a lifeline, and we're gonna do for the rest of the entire podcast until you come up with a name for Alex Shelley's moon.
Meteor City Machine Gun.
Not the worst. It could have been worse. Jackie Gata does lead to the finish. He slaps Shelley and brawls with them. This distracts PD, allowing Jay Lethal to roll up PD to score his first TNA win. So Jay Lethal's starting to get some wins here in TNA.
I'm still trying to think of a better one.
It's like, you have to think of like pop culture moons, which there's not a ton of actually. There's like the Majora's Mask moon that's crushing the earth. There's Harvest Moon. Is there anything you can do with that?
I'm just going for anything space.
So like tying space to Alex Shelley. We'll move on to the tag division while you think about it.
Yeah, I have nothing to say about it, so just run through both the tag for you until I think of this.
Team 3D have issues with Team Canada after they beat him up, made him bloody.
The Shell Rock?
Instead
of Shell
There
Shock?
you go, well done. It is a 5-minute process.
No, I had to explain it, it's not good.
No,
still.
you didn't need to explain it. I would have understood. You didn't actually need to explain it.
Okay.
Team Canada are doing some stuff this month. They're feuding with Team 3D. They have a 6-man tag on the January 21st episode against Ron Killing, Shark Boy, and Lance Hoyt, which I really enjoyed. This match was just high energy and pretty good. People bumping, doing stuff. Lance Hoyt looked great, doing a great hot tag, just throwing the Canadians around. You don't seem to have many thoughts about this Team Canada 6-man tag.
I'm still trying to think of a better pun. I can't beat this. Like I'm not happy with my answer yet.
PD drops Sharky with the Canadian Destroyer to pick up the win as Team Canada gains some momentum. Later in that show, Franchise is in Larry Zbyszko's office and Team 3D are mad about the finish at Final Resolution. If you'd remember, it was very stupid, where Team 3D won the match, but then the referee didn't call it, so they just decided not to win the match. Like, they got the pin, the referee counted the pin, but the match wasn't over for some reason, who knows. And eventually AMW retained. Bully's really mad, he's like, that's really stupid, but because Team Canada and AMW screwed us, we want them both. And Larry's like, guys, management's up my ass. They're like, you're giving the wrestlers what they want too much. And I want to help you. So I can't give you both. I really can't. For some reason, management just won't let me. So you have to choose.
Even though, like, these two teams would definitely team up against the babyface team the whole time.
So Larry's like, you have to give me a choice. I can really fight for one of these matches. I can get that through management. So which do you want? Do you want Team Canada or do you want AMW? And 3D are like, we want both, but we don't know. And Larry's like, think about it for a week. Come back to me. So following week, Team 3D face Buck Quatermain and Kenny King. How do you feel Lex Lovett feels about the fact that Buck Quatermain is now teaming with somebody else?
I think, a part of a loving tag team commitment is knowing each other's boundaries. Right. And if it was discussed beforehand and, Buck Quatermain didn't do anything that would breach a sort of romantic contract, it's perfectly acceptable for Buck Quatermain to team up with someone else.
Do you think they actually broke up because one of them now has hair?
Yes.
Because Lex Lovett is jealous of Buck's hair and he's like, we can't be partners anymore.
Yes. No, our whole thing was that we were a couple of bald boys.
Yeah, we even included David Young every now and again.
See, clearly it's an open tag team from the beginning.
You just have to be bald. Squash, 3D win. 3D and Quatermain give 3D the win. Bully thanks the fans for giving them the Tag Team of the Year award, which he dropped and then nearly stepped on, so he clearly loves it. They can't choose between going after Team Canada or AMW, so Bully said they're going to leave it up to the fans. They can vote on the website. Would you rather see them face Team Canada or AMW, Liam?
I have no clue how Team Canada won this. Like, obviously, I think everyone assumed that, like, AMW was gonna win, because to me it felt like this whole tag tournament was like, oh fuck, AMW didn't win.
I want because they could have worked the poll if they wanted to, but it does feel to me like they do want the detour 3D off to Team Canada so that AMW are freed up for a while, so that Team 3D don't just beat AMW for the tag titles. That feels like what they're doing to me. But you're also right that they're then like, well, what do AMW do?
I'm doing research to think of an Alex Shelley pun.
Following Impact, we open the show with Team 3D. Bully announces that the fans have voted for Team Canada, and then he starts a USA chant. So it will be Team Canada versus Team 3D at the pay-per-view. Go home show, Team 3D face the Diamonds in the Rough. The match ends by, I guess, countout or DQ when Team Canada run in. It's not clear. Team 3D run wild, Diamonds in the Rough bail. AMW then come out and you're lucky you don't have to wrestle us. Devon says AMW will have their day in court and 3D will be the judge, jury, and executioner.
That's AMW's.
Yeah, because they find the defendants guilty. Bully says when they're done with Team Canada, then AMW are next. Team Canada jump Team 3D. Team 3D run off the first wave, but then a second wave come out after Team 3D set up a table. Team Canada turn the tide, beat the shit out of them. EY hits Devon with the Tag Team of the Year plaque, which causes him to start bleeding profusely. EY and Rude flapjack Bully through a table as Devon bleeds.
It's a lot of blood.
Rude then starts pouring Devon's blood on the Tag Team of the Year plaque as the anthem plays Team Canada out. It's a good beatdown.
I like that they said hit the anthem, and it's not even the actual anthem. It's their theme music version.
Yeah, it's the best version of the Canadian national anthem.
Canadian national anthem should have adopted it.
Credit to Devon.
Imagine how much more bowler Canada would be if they just had down.
I was gonna say credit to Devon for bleeding so much for this mid-card feud, but technically this feud is above the tag title feud on the pay-per-view. So you know what? Fair enough.
I'm also officially announcing I'm giving
You have given up on your pursuit of an Alex Shelley moon. I think Shellrock was fine. You had it with Shellrock.
I was trying to work on something with Crescent. I was trying to work on something with Baby Bear. Mm-hmm. I was going to all different possible areas, and it just nothing. I'm really devastated.
If you knew the names of all the moons of the various planets, there's probably one that has some wordplay in there.
Well, yeah, there's one planet, one moon called Atlas, sounds like Atlas Shelley, but no one knows
Yeah,
Atlas.
that's the problem. No one knows the moon names, so they're not proper pun.
No, it's like, well, it's like there's nothing for me to actually work with, you know?
And you're like, is there anything to lunar shell? Lunar Productions. This is just the show now. Trying to come up with one moon-based Alex Shelley pun.
If anyone thinks of a better moon-based Alex Shelley pun, please.
Yeah, please drop them in the Discord. Send them to us on Twitter at TNA History Pod if you can come up with one.
Lunar City Machine Guns. Damn it almost flowed.
If you can come up with a moon for Alex Shelley, please let us know.
I'm so upset. I'm not good at this.
Pay-per-view match. Semi-main event at the pay-per-view, which was probably later than it should have went on. But Team 3D versus Team Canada.
Sorry, I'm still recovering. What are you saying?
The pay-per-view match between Team 3D and Team Canada.
Oh, it happened.
It was a pretty straightforward, rudimentary tag. It was alright. It shouldn't have semi-mained. It went on after Styles Daniels Joe, and what are you doing there?
I mean, they probably were like cooldown things.
Oh, yeah, actually, yeah, you are right that it is nearly certain that Jarrett was like, I cannot go on immediately after Styles Daniels Joe. You need to put something in that spot.
Which is like some actual, what would you call it? Reasonable foresight from one Jeffrey Jarrett.
I would personally argue if you don't think you can follow some people on the undercard, the people on the undercard should be there.
Main event champion.
Yeah, but it's neither here nor there. Devon bled a bunch again. They rubbed the plaque on his blood again. It was fine.
They tried their best to make this like bigger than it actually is.
Yeah, it was the good Team Canada team as well. It was Rude and Young, who haven't really been the Team Canada team for a lot of the matches recently, but they expected this to be, I think, more heated than it ultimately was, and it was a good tag. There's nothing wrong with it.
That's because Team Canada aren't exactly the most strongly pushed act.
They're just Jarrett's minions, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like they're like what they were when they were like tag champs or whatever. Or
It's a perfectly fine, perfectly competent, perfectly well wrestled, decent tag match that you will never think about again after you watch it. Rude hits a low blow and a hockey stick shot on Bully, but Bully kicks out. 3D pin EY with the 3D. Team Canada and AMW attack after the match, but Ron Killings makes the save and leg drops EY through a table. So Ron Killings having a little association with Team 3D for reasons who know. Maybe we'll find out next month.
Solar City Machine Guns.
Again, the sun is not a moon. You can't just go to other bodies.
I know, but it's just gotta be space themed. All right, I got something with an sound for motor.
Obviously, AMW then did not have a title match for the pay-per-view, so they did a tag team tournament throughout the rest of the month to determine
It's such a useless tournament.
to determine number one contenders.
Like what? Like such a thrown together like assortment here.
It doesn't speak well to the depth in the tag team division.
Well, I guess at the very least, like they were trying to. It was good for Aries and Strong.
Yeah.
The Naturals got to do something. It's the fakest Team Canada team that's ever existed. And like Sabin and Sanjay is a complete crapshoot.
Yeah, and because like Sabin and Sanjay, like it is pretty clear it was the plan for them, because Sabin and Sanjay do win the first Impact of the month. The first match is Sabin and Sanjay beating Diamonds in the Rough. So like they are trying to get something going with Sabin and Sanjay. And I guess if you're like, what's the fastest way we can get them to be tag contenders in a month without seeming like we just made them tag contenders in a month, is like a quick tournament to give them like a little bit of credibility. You know, they won a match, they won a tournament, they have a little bit of credibility going in as contenders then, rather than just a thrown together team, you know?
Imagine if they had a 1.
Maybe they should have, because they were a good team in that Diamonds in the Rough match. Sanjay is a guy who's like made to be like a babyface tag team hot tag. They do come out to Sabin's music, if you were wondering the priority here. Sabin, the star of the team.
Sorry, I saw like Shelley and I remembered Embassy and I was like, is there anything there?
If we were naming a C after them, you could have said Embassy and then it would have been fucking perfect. You could have said Embassy of Tranquility and that actually would have been really good.
The fuck is that? That would have been so good.
Yeah, it's a spot in the moon. So Embassy of Tranquility, boom, done.
Fucking shut up. God damn it, that's so much good.
He's so bad. Oh no. They beat Diamonds in the Rough with a Hindu press to David Young. Then we do get the tag team tournament, as you mentioned. So the brackets, Team Canada and Sabin and Sanjay on one side of the bracket, and then Aries and Strong, Generation X, and the Naturals on the other side of the bracket. So it's a 4-team tournament. Brackets is generous.
Yeah, whatever. Cool. Bracketology. Break it down with bracketology then, Mr. Smart
Guy.
Guy.
Who do you think's going all the way in this tournament, Liam? If Sabin and Sanjay advance, they will face either one of two teams.
I think it's going to be Aries and Strong. I think they're going to win the whole thing.
I think we found the perfect combination of Team Canada with A1 and Petey Williams.
they're gonna really put it all
This
together.
is their moment. This is their time. This is what they've been working
By the way,
toward.
I had something else for Roderick Armstrong.
Oh, again, see, if I asked you to name one after Roderick Strong, you would have nailed it.
Yeah.
You can do moons for everybody else.
What's Aries?
Fucking just Aries.
I guess. Is there a moon
I think
called
there is a
Aries?
moon called Aries.
It's a zodiac sign.
Yeah, so it's like an astrology shite.
Sure. I mean, that's kind of lame, but yeah.
Petey goes for the destroyer, but Sabin does his counter and wins with the cradle shock, which continues again that long-running narrative that Chris Sabin has the counter for the Canadian destroyer, and I do appreciate them weaving it into all of these matches. And
Again, these are indie nerds.
they love this shit. And in case you were wondering, cradle shock, more for Plex move of the night.
But would it have been the Turbo Tax move of the
Let
night?
me see what else was on. No, there was a cool Styles clash. That would have been the Turbo Tax. That the double underhook into the Styles clash would have been the Turbo Tax move of the night.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so far we only know that TurboTax likes knee strikes because the EVP trigger won it. So maybe they prefer a more striking based move of the night.
There was no striking base finish on this show. Oh no, there's a Gore. Okay, Gore would have been the Turbo Tax.
Yeah, I was like, Gore is a strike.
Yeah, okay. I forgot Rhino Kenny King was on this show, so that would have been a Turbo Tax move of the night. Get out of here, Styles Clash. Main event of that episode: Austin Aries and Roderick Strong defeated the Naturals to advance to the finals of the Tag Team Title Tournament. You happy to see Aries and Strong at least teaming together?
Yeah, well, right. That's the best thing about it is that like Aries and Strong are actually doing some stuff together. We're starting to see the transformation of Aries to Star.
It's very weird. I don't really get what they're doing. I don't know what, because the idea is like they're not getting attention, so he's like, is this how you want me to dress to get attention in the X division? But also it's stupid.
But like it's stupid, and also his partner is Blandy McBlanston over here.
Yeah, Aries wasn't the problem with that, because Aries could at least talk. Roderick Strong doesn't even talk on these shows.
The bit should have been that like Aries is dressing Roderick up. Roderick Star.
He's the real star.
That's the name of the moon as well.
Aries does the pendulum elbow in this match, and Dawn says, I love when he does the pendulum thing right there.
I like how he got the hard part of it
Yeah,
right.
he doesn't remember elbow. Aries grabs a roll up on Douglas, grabs the ropes, wins. Aries and Strong advance to face Sabin and Dot, which is the opener of the Go Home show, in which Sabin absolutely fucks up his leg. So there's a sign at the start of this match that says Austin Aries plus Roderick Strong plus Alex Shelley equals Genbassy, as in Generation Next and Embassy. But Alex Shelley's already part of Generation Next.
I guess at that point he had left.
But still, you don't need the two stables. He's already in the one stable. There's no other Raven stuff this month. He's just gone. But Larry Zbysko's on commentary for this match, and they start talking about how he missed Raven's foot in the rope in the Sean Waltman match. And Larry Zbysko goes for a really bold strategy and says, I didn't see it, so it was not there.
Larry Z has object permanency issues.
Yeah, it's like, if I didn't see it, the only explanation is not that I didn't see it, it simply didn't exist. Tape be damned, his foot was not on that rope.
Hey, I respect it. I respect someone that up their own asshole.
There was also, he was talking about Sting, because he was like, what's the deal with Sting? And he's like, back in my day, you used to at least have to give a notice period. You can't just walk out. The big part of this match, Sabin goes to do a corner dropkick, and his ankle gets caught under him, and it looks very nasty. They eventually pin Aries with the cradle shock, but Sabin clearly fucked up his leg, which becomes the story for the pay-per-view match. So that does bring us to the pay-per-view, in which the opener is the Naturals and facing Austin Aries and Roderick Strong in a rematch of the tournament match. The idea being because Aries and Strong cheated, the Naturals are getting their rematch. It is fine. Chase Stevens does a shooting star to the floor. Austin Aries is in full like Austin Star attire at this point. Aries gets a roll-up, grabs the ropes, but this time the referee sees it, and then the Naturals hit the Natural Disaster on Aries for the win.
We were talking about this on the watch long. Someone needs to steal the Natural Disaster. I nominated the newly heel Young Bucks as like a just kill them thing, because because I kind of hate the EVP trigger. I think it sucks and never looks good or like damaging, and it's like this is kind of a perfect move for a heel Bucks. I feel
They're small though, so they might have some trouble getting bigger guys up for it.
they wrestle a lot of small guys in that division though.
If they get Big Bill up for it, I would be impressed.
That would be awesome.
There was some controversy about this match and this show in general. So with a major storm on the horizon, TNA officials alerted all talent working indies the day before to cancel their dates and fly out when they could. Larry Zbyszko had to pull out of a date in Boston. The entire Dave Hebner show in Virginia was cancelled since much of his crew were booked on the TNA pay-per-view. Terry Taylor told Gabe Sapolsky that the TNA wrestlers were being pulled from his show in Lake Grove, New York. 5 were scheduled as Alex Shelley, Jay Lethal, and Homicide left for Orlando. Austin Aries and Roderick Strong, the Ring of Honor tag champs, although they were not scheduled for a defense, did not. They did manage to get a flight out of New York right before the airport closed and made it to the show. However, management was nothing less than furious at them for taking the risk. A backup plan was booked for the Diamonds in the Rough to take the match against the Naturals instead. While time will tell what happens and time eventually heals all wounds, not in this case, although in this case they're deep and it may be it might be quite some time, the Aries and Strong mini push looks to be over. And yeah, this is, I'm not sure do they do stuff next month, but we are nearly done with Aries and Strong in TNA until Aries comes back at the end of the year, but Strong never does. Is this Strong's last match?
I wonder if they were going to win this.
This match? You would have thought so. It would have been well. You can also say the Naturals getting their win back because the match was rebooked because of cheating.
Was the like actual story? Yeah. But who knows where it's like, where they're going to push this other team further.
No, we still have a little more Roddy. So we have another month of these guys until they're actually gone. So you don't have to do any eulogies yet.
Soon.
We didn't watch it, which maybe we should have. But one of the explosion matches this month was Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Roderick Strong.
Was that a match that they ever run that back?
I assume they did at some point in like Ring of Honor, surely.
That seems like an ROH
yeah,
thing.
But yeah, it's a good little 8-minute match. Tanahashi comes out to high energy, so it's much better than the pay-per-view match by default. And it's a good little match. It's on... Actually, is it on TNA Plus? It was on Impact Plus, but I'm not sure if we moved the hidden gems yet. But you can find that match in places. Tanahashi and Strong. Good match.
They did run it back in 2015 at War of the Worlds, Night 2.
I assume Strong went over.
No. It has almost a 9 out of 10 on Cage Match, which was this the first shows that they ever did?
2015, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Have I told the story before about when I found out about these shows happening?
I think you might have on Raintakers, but maybe not on this show.
So basically, I was working my first job as a trolley collector, and I was doing it, and I got a message on my phone. I was looking on Twitter or on something, and it showed me that they announced ROH and New Japan War of the Worlds, and I think they maybe even announced Steen Nakamura at that point. And let me tell you, the rest of my shift, all I was doing was fantasy booking ROH New Japan, because that was at the point where I was fully entrenched in ROH. I found it maybe the year before, and I was as we know, I was a couple years into my New Japan watching at the same time, and I was this was my 2 favorite promotions coming together, and I was fantasy booking everything. It was a very fun time.
That was when ROH still had a roster worth of people that could have dream matches.
Yes, before everything.
the entire world was turned upside down by pandemic and many other things.
Maybe this wasn't the first year. I don't think. I think 2014
was.
But yeah, because the first year was Nakamura and Steen. Yeah, Global Wars.
So it would have been that show, yeah.
Yeah, 2014 I think was the first year, which had some weird matches.
What else was on that show?
Where the hell is Steen and Nakamura? This match happened. I think it was War of the Worlds. Yes, found it. All right, 12 minutes. That's tidy.
It was a good match.
It was a good match. That was the show that convinced Nakamura to leave.
Oh no! It's I'm over in America. Money.
He's oh wait, I get reactions in America.
And then money, please.
How long is he? Oh my! There's gonna be a point where Nakamura's gonna have been in WWE longer than New Japan. I'm gonna fucking die.
I'm thinking about that same thing for AJ. Where he's still a little ways away, but it's 8 years in WWE now versus 12 in TNA, 11 and a half. And it's oh no, it's closing in.
Yeah, God. What are we doing?
Finals of the NWA World Title Tag Team Tournament. Actually, no, well, technically not the finals. The title shot they got from winning. Sabin and Dutt faced America's Most Wanted. So they replayed before the match, Sabin doing the baseball slide and then his foot getting caught under him. So that formed the basis of the story of the match, where Sabin's leg is injured AMW are working over it. They pull down his kick pad. They relentlessly go after it. They crush it under the guardrail a couple times. Saban eventually gets the hot tag to Dot. Saban cuts off a death sentence with a one-legged drop kick. Dot's hot tag was really good, by the way, as well. I think that like Dot's a really good tag team wrestler for a guy who I don't think ever really was in a tag team and probably should have been at some point. Because
Yeah, like, he clearly has some sort of, like, some Morton-esque get the shit kicked out of me.
he has both sides of what you want, because he has he is a sympathetic babyface you can get the heat on, and he's also like this really impressive high flying guy who you can also like get a hot tag to, and he looks really good. So he kind of works both sides of a babyface tag team, you would have thought, but he was never really in one.
I was gonna say, like, who would you even think that would be like his partner?
Well, like, there's Saban here. He teams with Jay Lethal a little bit in like 2007.
I do remember the Lethal team. That's probably the one I associate most with him.
Like they could have done more. Like Lethal ends up like winning tag titles with Consequences Creed rather than Sanjay, and maybe Lethal and Sanjay might have been the better team, even though Consequences Creed did form the best like shoving two names together tag team name of all time. Yeah, you get Jay Lethal, Consequences Creed, Lethal Consequences. It's like, oh, that's actually so good. You could name a moon after it.
It's amazing.
AMW introduced the chair, but Saban DDTs Harris onto the chair, followed by a Sanjay standing shooting star for 2. Dutton misses the Hindu press, but walks into a super kick and follows with a death sentence for the AMW win to retain the title. They spend ages handcuffing Dutt to the ropes, but then Saban comes back in with the chair to make the save. Nice little match, good little match. If Saban's leg wasn't injured, they probably would have had a more traditional tag match, which probably would have ultimately been a better tag match, but it was fun for what they were going for.
Then also Dutt dying briefly.
Sanjay Dutt suffered a concussion after Chris Harris landed on his head during the pay-per-view match. Chris Saban also aggravated his sprained ankle during the match, so maybe shouldn't have worked on the bad leg.
Everyone got hurt.
Yeah, there's a ton of injury story. Like Abyss got knocked out, Daniels got hurt. I think Joe even got hurt at some point as well. So there's a lot of people knocked up after the knocked up. What's the expression I'm looking for?
Hello. Knocked out?
Not knocked out. Banged up. Banged
Knocked
up
loopy?
is the word I'm looking for.
Banged
That's
up.
all. It's just like knocked up.
I was really emphasizing knocked.
Yeah. A lot of guys banged up after the show, not knocked up.
A lot of guys knocked up after the
A
show.
lot going on backstage, huh?
A lot of blackmail footage for
Yeah, that's what he got in the tape.
Jackie Gator knocking up the boys.
That brings us to how we end the show every week. Every time we do the show. 3 live crew, family drama.
Beware.
This mother is a bad girl.
Beware.
The James Gang on the first Impact of the month defeat Buck Quartermain and Kenny King.
You know what's funny? I saw Kenny King on these shows and I'm like, you know what? He is kind of just ready to be a guy on these shows.
Yeah, he's athletic. He has a little bit of presence to him.
Got a little look about him.
Yeah, he's like, you see Buck, you see Lex, you see David Young, and you're like, you're job guys for life. You do see Kenny King and you're like, more there. There's more there.
Yeah. He has a better look about him. He's younger. Like, there's something, like, you look at Kenny King, you're like, okay. I'm surprised they didn't, like, try and pick him up.
Because he's only around just doing jobs, not for very long.
But he's been here for a while now. Because he did some stuff earlier on too.
Jackhammer and One and Only by Kip on King for the win. Conan appears on the screen with Homicide and challenges the James Gang to a pay-per-view match at against all odds.
No, Apollo.
Apollo's status is in question. Apollo and Homicide are wrestling the James Gang on the pay-per-view, but from there, it's undecided. Apollo doesn't even get there. The feeling is that they have to make a statement about guys missing pay-per-view shows. Obviously, the feeling is that it's more than just a transportation problem out of his control, because nobody would be mad at him over that.
Oh, well, they were pretty mad at Aries and Strong.
Well, they made a choice, but also, yes.
I know, I'm just trying to defend him.
But in Apollo's case, they do seem to think that he happens to magically have transportation issues every time he's on pay-per-view, in which he might be losing.
Apollo, the big star.
Yeah, it is. We talked about this with Shocker, but it is one of those things where, like, he's a star in Puerto Rico, but then comes to America and is a job guy. So it must feel really weird to, like, have that relationship where you're like, I'm a star in my home country, but then I'm trying to make it somewhere else, and I'm just doing jobs on undercards and 6-minute matches. But also, I'm shit in those matches, so I can't really complain.
It's a weird one. But I guess, ego is ego. You're a star, you're a star.
Which does mean... Did we do the Apollo? We did. I think we did run down the Apollo stuff last time, didn't we?
I did, and it was horrible. So I'm not doing it again.
Yeah, then you ended up on his Wikipedia page and it was unfortunate. Is there any other stuff that builds to this pay-per-view match?
Isn't there like...
LAX have a squash on the February 4th.
Yeah, there's a squash, I was going to say.
So Conan, Homicide, and Apollo.
With Apollo!
This is, I think, Apollo's actual last match. Defeat Frankie Capone, Rod Steele, and Bruce Steele.
Of course.
Apollo's now dressed in like edgy shorts, but he has the same bright red boots.
I kind of love it when people are like, I'm a bad guy now, I'm going to wear shorts, but I will still wear my wrestling boots.
Yeah. The boots don't even match the shorts. It would be one thing if the shorts were red, so they would at least match, but the shorts were a different color.
That makes it better.
Frankie Capone is Francisco Chiazzo, who passed away recently as well. Worked a bunch of GCW as well, so popping up here. It was one of those things. It's like, I like the way I phrased this as if Conan did the move, but the Doomsday Bulldog gives Conan the win. It's Homicide and Apollo who did the Doomsday Bulldog, as opposed to the Conan having any involvement in that.
It's important to note here that Conan isn't even trying to wear any semblance of gear.
Conan can't move at this point.
He's just like in clothes.
Like that man cannot move at this point. He should not be wrestling.
Yeah, which is why, he transitions into just kind of doing promo stuff.
So LAX jumped the guys after the match, but the James Gang makes the save. That brings us to the pay-per-view match in which Apollo's not around anymore. We have Machete now.
Yay.
The Latin American Exchange.
It's not that Machete, so don't get too excited, guys.
It's, what's his name? It's down here somewhere. Ricky Vega, who was backstage at the tapings and was asked to fill in the spot. So it's Homicide and Machete facing the James Gang in a nothing pay-per-view match where BG pins Machete with a pump handle slam.
At least Homicide didn't get pinned.
Yeah. Conan is really hurting as he needs both shoulder surgery and hip replacement surgery. He needs the hip replacement for a couple of years, but has been putting it off. But it's gotten really bad as he has trouble walking. Just get your hip replaced, dude. Likely through with the company is Apollo. Apollo worked the February 11th show for IWA in Puerto Rico. He went out after the show with Slash of Disciples of the New Church fame, I believe. Maybe it's someone different. Chris Kindred? Flash Flanagan. Okay, different Slash. To Slash's apartment, which is 5 minutes from the San Juan International Airport. The plan was for Apollo to sleep over and then they'd get up at 6:30 and go to the airport with plenty of time. When Chris Kindred woke up, Apollo was nowhere to be seen. He waited for a while, figuring Apollo went for a walk, but Apollo never came back. Kindred assumed he had already taken a cab. He never showed up to the plane. Like last month, he called ahead and said his flight was cancelled. However, unlike last month when he claimed similar problems, this time TNA checked and his flight was not cancelled. He even told people in Puerto Rico that there was a bomb scare at the airport, but there was no such thing as that was also easy to check. There was one report that he missed his flight, but when he went to the airport to fly standby but couldn't get a flight. So he missed his flight. There was one report that he missed his flight, went to the airport to fly standby, but then couldn't get on a later flight. Apollo is known for not liking to do jobs, as that has been an issue in Puerto Rico, but he's worked in TNA in a bottom role doing jobs regularly. The plan was for him to do the job in the match and then afterwards have Homicide and Conan turn on him, although he likely wasn't aware of that. So before trying to not get on the plane. It wouldn't take a brain surgeon figure out that he was likely doing the job, particularly coming off the no-show, and then Ricky Vega filled in. So that is the end of Apollo and TNA, and we will have a much better version of LAX because of it. So thumbs up Apollo, thank you.
I like how they knew that this Apollo thing wasn't going to last forever, even in LAX.
He would want, obviously, because he no-showed, was, I think, set in motion plans to take him out, so that they would actually have, at least story continuity for why he's suddenly not there. If he was showing up every week and being a quote-unquote team player, you do wonder, would they have just stuck with the Homicide Apollo team, and would LAX have been, a much worse act because of it?
That wouldn't have lasted as long, by any means.
LAX kind of went down as one of the better parts of TNA history. People remember it very fondly, but there's a world in which Apollo doesn't no-show a bunch of shows, and suddenly that team is a lot worse.
And doesn't probably exist for, nowhere near as long, right? And then we don't get LAX 2.0.
And then, what does Homicide and TNA look like? If LAX kind of falls apart, does Homicide do something else? Does he just kind of crash out of TNA? It's interesting to think about that alternate reality that Apollo's set in motion here.
Thank you, Apollo, for not showing up.
On many levels.
Yeah.
That is Against All Odds 2006. The pay-per-view was pretty good. There's some good matches in the pay-per-view. The month of TV was pretty boring.
Yeah, it was boring, but not bad. Which has kind of been where I've been at for most of these TVs.
Yeah, it's perfectly functional. It gets where it needs to go, but you don't sit and watch 40 minutes and you're pumped. You're not oh, what a great episode of television. You're
no.
That is mechanically good at getting where you need to go without being particularly exciting.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we reach a point where that will be the case.
We are getting more shtick and antics because the Planet Jarrett stuff and the paparazzi production
That's
stuff
what
is
I
ramping
need.
up.
We just need it. I need it to be a show that I can laugh at, you know? I don't expect TNA to be delivering me an AEW, high quality Dynamite, you know?
And then you'll get to the Russo shows where they become, categorically insane. So you can look forward to that
Which
too.
is what we want. We can make content out of that.
The watch along for Against All Odds 2006 is in your Patreon feed right now at patreon.com/kiddingme or tnachat.com. We'll be coming up with new episodes of Lucha Underground and Rain Takers in the next few weeks as we build toward the Destination X 2006 episode of You've Got to Be Kidding Me as well coming up. Follow us on Twitter at TNA Series Pod. Follow me on Twitter at Garrett Kidney. Follow Liam on Twitter at The Gleet Muda. Subscribe to us on YouTube at You've Got to Be Kidding Me, and follow us on TikTok at TNA History. Thanks for listening, and bye-bye.
Do damn thing. Bye.